Before I knew it, it has been 3 weeks since I opened the book. During this time, I have signed a contract. I am very grateful for the trust of the website and the editor in charge, and I am very grateful for everyone's support. Some readers voted for me, while others gave me a tip. Among these people are my relatives and friends, and some who clicked in by fate. Thank you for your support. With you here, I will not stop updating. Here, I think I still have to talk about the story that this novel is going to tell. No spoilers involved, eat with confidence. 1. This world, obviously, is a world dominated by firearms. However, it is not as simple as you think. At present, we can see that Chen Jiangzai's main gun can be changed into a 3-pointed toe-edged sword, and a secondary weapon. The gun can be turned into a mechanical roaring dog, and Yu Jinding's pistol can play a very powerful restraint and control effect. But it's not just that. 2. Accessories, beast souls, and other settings will have an impact on a person's fighting style and style. According to the outline of my current plan, the main characters that will appear in the future, and even some of the supporting characters, will have different fighting styles brought about by their firearms. Some people are good at turning firearms into cold weapons for melee combat, some people turn firearms into bows and arrows, some use firearms to release magic, and the gun is like a staff in his hand. 5 skills to cooperate with combat, create your own combat skills, even boxing, kung fu, etc. Everyone has their own fighting style, which is very different. 3. It looks like a gun text, but in fact, you can understand it as supernatural power, fantasy. 4. At present, the beasts outside the city are the focus of conflict in this book. However, it is not only the beasts, but besides the beasts, there are also, it will gradually spread out. 5. What is the organization that uses the poker logo and what is their purpose? 6. The protagonist group will participate in the competition in the whole country, and will also participate in the world competition in the future. You can appreciate the different characteristics of the fittest in different regions. 7. It's not that simple just for beasts. After all, the 10 kings and even the 8 monsters at a higher level have not shown any signs of appearing. This is just Warcraft in China, what about other regions? 8. It will be updated stably and continuously every day. There are 10,000 words every day. If there are special circumstances, there are at least 4,56,700. 9. Collection, add to the bookshelf, recommend tickets, various tickets. If you think the writing is good, you can recommend it to your friends. 10. Obsessive-compulsive disorder makes up 10. A book friend reacted just now, but he did not understand the system of novels. I will post a work related to it here and add it, so that everyone will have a clearer thinking. After all, it is a new theme and worldview. Instruction of. Very simple. Practicing the body and spirit, and enhancing the fit between the human and the gun. When all 3 of these reach a critical point, the firearm will be upgraded once. From the appearance, the imprint on the side of the firearm has changed: black iron, bronze, silver, gold, given name. In addition, there are accessories in this world, like scopes, magazines, grips, muzzles and butts in chick kneading games. Specially forged accessories that can be installed on firearms to enhance their combat effectiveness. The accessories are not replaceable. Once installed on the firearm, it is a lifetime event. The fittest are the mainstream in this world, the so-called cultivators in this world. The path of cultivation is divided into 9 levels, because some of the settings will involve important plots later, so I will not explain it here. This is just an introduction to the level of cultivation. First grade Qing Feng, awaken and unlock the main gun. The gun level is the most basic black iron mark. Second rank Binjai. Once advanced the black iron will be turned into a bronze mark, and an accessory can be installed. Third rank Sergeant, silver mark on the main gun. a total of 2 accessories can be installed. Awakening again, auxiliary guns, black iron, cannot install accessories, rank 4 captain, gold mark of the main gun, 3 accessories in total, bronze mark of the auxiliary gun, 1 accessory, 5th grade superintendent, the main gun has entered a bottleneck period, and there is no change. Auxiliary gun silver mark, 2 accessories, 6th rank generals, golden mark of the main gun, 4 accessories, golden mark of the auxiliary gun, 3 accessories, awakened golden bone, and a sharp increase in physical energy. 7th rank military division, the main gun is given a name imprint, diamond color, 5 accessories, full matching, practice to the end. 8th rank lord, auxiliary guns name mark, diamond color, 4 accessories, the king of phase 9, the imprint of the auxiliary gun turns into an obsidian color, 5 accessories, fully equipped, and the spiritual energy is enhanced. Yes, that's it. There are some other cultivation systems that involve spoilers, so let's not talk about them. The level of the monster: secondary beast level 3, brute level 4, elite level 5, commander 6th level, warrior level 7, head coach king, level 8, generally only called king. Above the king, I will not explain it first. Under normal circumstances, the grades correspond to each other, but the monsters are stronger than the fittest human beings. For example, if a number of the fittest of the 2nd grade work together, they can defeat a 2nd grade beast. By analogy, with the cooperation of several rank 8 lords, they can kill a king beast. Some characters who are in the rank can be singled out against monsters of the same level. The more talented they are, the more they can go beyond the restrictions and even fight Onetomani. Help! Help! Woohoo! Anyone there? Help! Click! A blast of thunder, like the wrath of the thunder, fell from the sky straight to the world, connecting the sky and the sea. The dark clouds covered the sky, intercepting the light from the sun to the world. In the dark blue water, huge waves more than 10 meters high surged up, covering the sky, and slapped them down heavily, smashing into the sea and breaking into silver flowers all over the ice. The power of heaven and earth is breathtaking. Human ships are driven by huge waves and waves. Like a tiny leaf under water. It is hundreds of meters long and tens of meters high. However, under this natural disaster, the huge ships are no different from the toy boats in the hands of children, and they may disappear into dust at any time. The passengers on the ship let out a desperate roar, extremely miserable. A prisoner of hell, that's all. They were greeted only by death that was close at hand. Help! I don't want to die, I don't want to die yet. Suddenly, in the dim sky, the thunder was dyed with red light. Above the sky, there was a mournful cry of a demon beast. It rained blood. In the red rain of blood, there are also large and small pieces of meat. Most of them are small pieces, as small as minced meat. The big piece, about the size of a fist, the muscles on it are still twitching and squirming, and the vitality has not completely dissipated. The unknown beast that made waves and could even change the sky was killed in an instant. The wind is calm, and the dark tide recedes. The thunder demon, the dark clouds, and the strange waves all melted and became invisible. The ship stopped smoothly on the sea again, and the people on the deck were shocked and looked up at the sky. The sun shines on the world again, and people kneel on the deck, looking at a helicopter in the sky. On the plane, a man in a military uniform sat. He saluted the ship, then drove the plane and flew away. The people on the ship were immersed in the joy of the rest of their lives. No one noticed that there was a thin figure in a prison uniform who jumped into the sea and plunged into the water, disappearing without a trace. Baiming City. The northern pearl of the motherland. Baiming Bay. As the largest ice-free port in Northeast Asia, it is prosperous and civilized. Relying on the port, on the flat coastal lowland plain stood a great city, with high-rise buildings stretching as far as the eye could see. Even in all of China and the world, it is a large first-tier city that ranks first. Countless merchant ships come and go, carrying goods from all over the world, bustling and prosperous. It is only half a city south of Beiming Bay. Beiming City, South District. Compared with the main city, this is just a small town, quiet and warm. There are no high-rise buildings, and there is no endless traffic. No traffic jams, no impatience, no noise. There is no unkempt worker who spends days without sleep just to run business, and there is no driver whistling in exasperation when he is stuck in traffic jam for dozens of minutes. A place suitable for retirement, a quiet town. This is a small town in the southern district of the People's Mouth, the pearl of northern China. But in the military population, it has another name: Lion Mouth. The mouth of the lion slammed into Liaodong. The southernmost tip of the Liaoshen Peninsula is like a sharp knife inserted straight into the Yellow Sea and the Bohai Sea, surrounded by the sea on three sides. Tragic and persevering. Hold on. There are probably less than 50 left. Damn. Why are there so many devil crabs? Company Commander. There are too many monsters here. The third team, support the East Coast. Hey, it's finally over. Hold on for one more wave, and you should kill them all, right? I'm going to eat 5 bowls of rice tonight. I'm starving to death. I feel like I can eat half a dark squid in one bite now. Ha 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 ha, you rice bucket. At the junction of the land and the sea, on the flat and soft sandy beach, the liquid of red and green is dipped in it, and the smell is overwhelming. Broken fish bones, broken pincers, fleshy limbs. It proves that a big battle has just happened here. A team of 500 or 600 people stood here. Even when they were resting, the military's appearance was still uniform, and no one was lying or sitting cross-legged freely. The danger has not been lifted. If you relax your vigilance, you may lose your life at any time. A pistol was pinned to Yu Jinding's belt, and a flash of thunder flashed from time to time on the gun. Through the military tactical binoculars, the soldier in his 30s observed this dark blue sea, which continued to shoot more stumps and pieces of flesh on the beach as the waves rolled. Undercurrents are surging, and demonic energy is rampant. Demonic. This is a special sense of smell unique to a veteran soldier. Yu Jinding, brothers, form an array. Another monster is going ashore. With an order, 500 or 600 soldiers in camouflage uniforms formed a battle formation again in just 3 seconds. Camouflage military uniforms, this is the most beautiful color in the eyes of hundreds of millions of Chinese. As long as there are soldiers, no one of our compatriots will die. Soldier, the sworn guardian of peace. Soldiers lined up on the beach, facing the sea, were ready. These most lovely people are holding black iron-colored firearms, and their faces are rough and bloodshot because they have been eroded by the sea breeze all the year round. The seagulls flew in the sky, whistling with a devilish shrill sound, piercing the eardrums. Even the hearts of the soldiers were beating at a strange rhythm under the influence of this chirping sound, and their blood began to boil unnaturally. Gather the fire. Attack the 3 magic sound seagulls. The officer of the sniper rifle company gave orders to the soldiers. If you don't kill the seagull, under the influence of the magic sound, the blood will boil more and more, and in the end, it will spew out from the 7 orifices, taking away all the vitality of people. Bang, bang, bang. There was a quick and decisive gunshot, and countless energy bullets attacked the seagulls flying in the sky. Shoot down the white feathers and bring a touch of blood. Under a major blow, all 3 seagulls lost their lives, fell into the waves, and turned up 3 small waves. In the center of the army, the man who was in the center and commanded the entire army spoke up, full of energy, and his voice spread across the entire beach. Everyone, start changing bombs. On his collar is the rank of military guard at the district level. To be able to guard the first district, at least the general level powerhouse can do it. The soldiers obeyed the instructions and put their left hand on the magazine. The energy called fitness was transferred from the body to the firearm. In a few seconds, the bullets were all filled. Guarding the surge of energy in front of him, he held a rifle in his hand that was similar in shape to the M4A1 before the cataclysm. It was as black as iron, but there was a lilac diamond-colored mark on the gun body on the side of the trigger. Firearms of the giving name level. 5 accessories complete. On the muzzle of the silencer, which was as black as ink, 3 black swimming dragons were carved with their heads forward, majestic and majestic. On both sides of the vertical grip under the barrel, there are short half-arc bayonet blades, one on the left and one on the right, like the fangs of a demon beast, chowing down on people. The black magazine and gun stock respectively depict silver horses and silver bullets with golden bow patterns. With a stern face in his 40s, he gently closed his left eye, raised the rifle in front of him, put the against his shoulder, and aimed his right eye. Above the rifle, there is an 8-fold optical tactical sight, the most distant and powerful sight in the world. Moreover, it is also the leader among the 8-fold mirrors, unique to the Chen family, the 8-fold mirror called Sky Eye. Except for sniper rifles, few people will install such a high multiple scope on other firearms. Unless, this is a master who is absolutely confident in his own strength. Lift the gun, aim, shoot, less than a second. With a light bang, a seagull hundreds of meters away instantly exploded into blood in the air, leaving no bones. Simple, random, one-sided slaughter. Like a boxing champion hitting a 3-year-old. What? There's actually a magic seagull there. This, about 700 or 800 meters, it's scary. It's amazing, as expected of Chen Junsi. That magic sound seagull doesn't seem to be a brute, it might be an elite monster. Is this the fittest at the military level? Fortunately, otherwise, this lion's mouth is really hard to guard. At the military level, he can be the leader of the army of a human city. And Chen Jiangzai, who has the strength of the peak of the military division, only serves as a guard in this small district. Chen Jiangzai's iris turned brown, and his black pupils turned into dark golden vertical pupils. Sharp as an eagle. The gloomy sea water surging up and down, and between the ups and downs, there is a faint dance of the aquarium, strange shapes. The bald-headed submachine gun company commander Sun Che took off his military cap and put it into the storage package on his belt. The rough and heavy hand touched the top of his head and shouted, "Be careful! The beast is going ashore." The submachine gun company came forward with me, released the shield and armor skills to prepare, and others are ready to fight at any time. A column of companies rushed out and stood in a row on the shore, armed with submachine guns of different shapes. Although the firearms have different shapes, the muzzles mounted on them are of the same uniform model. Military Standard Assault Shield Muzzle. It can greatly increase the accessory muzzle of the submachine gun's first system skill shield armor. The submachine gun fittest thought, and 200 light yellow light shields suddenly appeared. At the forefront of the army, with the extremely conspicuous bald head as the center, an indestructible line of defense was formed. The waves are turbulent, the black fins, the tentacles covered with spots, and the blood-stained carapace limbs dance in the sea, strange and terrifying. Hundreds of strangely shaped sea beasts marched on the land with sturdy limbs that had not evolved well. The sea beast, carrying the blue-black bitter waves, washed up on the beach again. The blue-black fortress collided with the pale yellow Great Wall. The shield-armored city wall, where the submachine guns are condensed, is the line of defense in the forefront of the battlefield. The rifle company and sniper rifle company behind them, squatted and attacked, and the flames danced wildly. Chen Jiangzai roared, "Kill! Kill!" For a time, the sound of killing was loud, and countless gunshots lingered on the entire beach. Firelight spewed from the muzzle of the gun, and blood flowers bloomed on the sea. Chen Jiangzai's body was full of violent energy, and the 40 bullets in the rifle magazine shot at the sea beasts again and again. Be sure to keep these beasts out of the land. The soldiers of the charging Chien company saw the riot of monsters in the distance, and hurriedly reported the battle situation. "No. Captain, there are too many monsters on the west side, and some brothers were washed down. Sun Che patted his bald head and said angrily, "Trash! Let's see how I will train you." The team on the right, move to the west, and complete the broken formation. Yes. But, Captain, in this case, there will be a gap of 2 or 3 meters in the middle of the defense line. Listen to my orders. There was a gap of about 2 meters on the right side, and Sun Che's bald head became the most obvious sign in the eyes of the beasts. Here the door is open. It's better not to attack here. Countless magic crabs swarmed with their giant claws. Behind the army of crabs, many devilfish and sea beasts came one after another, and together with the devil crabs, they launched a general attack on the army. Sun Che, 2 meters is 2 meters, I can hold it myself. He turned the submachine gun upside down suddenly, and black iron and brass-colored liquid metal poured out from the of the submachine gun in Sun Che's hand, as if the of the submachine gun was the fire hydrant that opened the valve. Black iron, brass. The quaint metal flows and condenses. Sun Che, fortunately, I ordered this giant gun stock from Master Chuan before. Ha 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 ha. Little brats, rush to your grandfather. Sun Che roared, Juk. The metal is based on the stock of the gun, and it is completely condensed into a solid body. Black background with brass-colored dots neatly arranged. Like the black city gate and the brass door nails on the city gate. Duan. The city gate fell to the ground, and the ground shook. The entire beach trembled a few times, and countless soldiers and monsters fell to the ground. Some soldiers did not prepare in advance, and even fell to the ground. Bald Sun. What the are you doing? It's been shaken by Dad. The black city wall, 4 meters high and 3 meters wide, blocked the gap in the formation and was stronger than before. Sun Che, who blushed, squeezed out a difficult voice from between his teeth, Quick! I can't keep this shield for long. Spicy chicken. As far as your next plate is concerned, it is empty. If you have nothing to do, go to the training ground and run 5 kilometers more. If you don't have the strength to argue with me for a long time, you should hang it there. The leader of the rifle company who just got up gave the order, Rifle, form a silver blade army. Don't waste the fighter jets your comrades won. Accessories are not cheap materials, but extremely valuable. But as long as you become a soldier, the motherland will guarantee the accessories needs of each soldier. The military's standard accessories may not be as good as those specially made accessories, but the combination of countless military accessories is the most powerful force. The power of unity. A ray of silver light flashed from the muzzles of the soldiers of the rifle company, and a sharp bayonet was born from the light on the underside of the muzzle. Standard bayonet muzzle. Not a silencer, not a flash suppressor, nor a muzzle compensator. Just a simple muzzle with a bayonet attached. It seems simple and mediocre, but it is really simple. Hundreds of soldiers formed an army formation, waving bayonets together, and unleashing combat skills together, and the chants from their mouths resounded through the sky. Rush! Silver blade storm! The silver sword beams gathered into a hurricane above the army formation, brewing a huge silver-white energy group, and then rushed into the center of the beast group, and even the sea water was blown into a vacuum. Beasts, brute soldiers, and elite-level sea monsters were all lying on the beach, their flesh and blood blurred. In the middle of the sea, there is the last monster alive, the commander-level monster. The silver blade storm just now exhausted the fitness of the soldiers, but in the face of this powerful commander demon fish, they were extremely at ease. Chen Junsi is still there, even if he is the commander of the beasts, what can he do? On the muzzle of Chen Jiangzai's rifle, 3 black dragons shone with light, the trigger was pulled, and with an ordinary gunshot, the black-colored demon fish burst into 3 blood holes. 3 shots in an instant. Gun hits. 3 shots were fired long ago, but only 1 shot. The muzzle on which the 3 black dragons were cast flashed with an extraordinary black light, and it seemed that the 3 spears just now seemed to be the exclusive skills of accessories attached to it. The devilfish was hit hard, struggling, twisting the injured fish tail, trying to turn around and run away. Chen Jiangzai frowned, "Since you're here, then leave your life behind." In the black energy storm, the M4A1 gradually turned into a long-handled weapon, with a 3-pronged point and a sharp edge on the side. It was made of black iron. At the junction of the sharp point and the long handle, a purple diamond was inlaid. What a peerless weapon! The title of the gun, 3-pointed toe-edged sword. The knife is transformed from a rifle, and the purple diamond is transformed from the energy mark that symbolizes the name-level firearm. With the sharp knife thrown, with the sound of the sharp weapon breaking through the air, the dark ink-colored devilfish at the commander level lost its breath. www.mtlnovel.com with a pure black 3-pointed toe-edged knife on its back, and was nailed to death in the sea. With a wave of Chen Jian's evil hand, the black weapon in the distance turned into a streamer and disappeared. He straightened his collar and said, "Sesthesia Gun Squad. Give the injured brothers emergency treatment first. The logistics team will clean up the battlefield. Everyone has worked hard." Looking up at the sky, the sun was shining brightly. If there wasn't such a heavy smell of blood and the stump of the beast's broken arm, what a beautiful coastal scenery would it be? "That's great, as long as you keep the barrier, everything will be fine." Chen Jiangzai passed through the colorless barrier and retreated to the military camp in the city. This is the human world. As a soldier, isn't it your mission to protect the city? The sworn mortal who guards the city of tranquility, how nice. Beside the fence of the coastal villa, there was a woman in a white casual dress, looking to be in her 30s and wearing a sun hat. She waved to Chen Jiangzai, then put her hands in front of her and shouted loudly, "At night. Remember to come back for dinner." The smile on his face was bathed in the warm sun, like sweet music soothing the restless heart. Chen Jiangzai's violent emotions disappeared in an instant, his indifferent face melted like the light snow lit by the spring sun. He smiled and gave a military salute in that direction. Behind the barracks is a small town. There are shopping malls, pedestrian streets, residential buildings, schools. People were walking on the street, talking and laughing, not knowing at all that just now, on the coast just a few miles away from them, Chinese soldiers once again fought off the beast tide and guarded the peace. Thanks for watching, please subscribe. The gentle sunbeams penetrated the clouds and swayed brilliantly on the land in late winter and early spring. Compared with the scorching heat of summer, the warm sun in winter makes people feel more comfortable and precious. As compared to now, people want to return to the peaceful, quiet and peaceful world 300 years ago, right? Warm sun, white clouds, breeze, and a playground with white runway lines, teenagers strolling around the school in 2s and 3s. They were all wearing blue and white school uniforms, and they were talking to each other about a certain star coming out with a new song, or that I bought another poster of him yesterday and put it on the bedroom wall. Really happy laughing. How beautiful! Even just seeing these words describing the campus can awaken many people's memories of their youth. That is how many people still think about campus life after entering the society. When I was 17 or 18, the most wonderful youth dance in my life. The children in the school are the happiest people. Looking further afield, on the old street outside the school gate, the rush hour for early morning work has passed. At this time, the people on the road are all uncles and aunts who are walking around. They are talking to each other about which vegetable market's food has risen in price again. Talking about how much his eldest grandson scored in the last exam, talking about how good his daughter-in-law was to him, and bought himself a set of fur coats 2 days ago for a small $1,000. Comfortable and happy. A little later, the housewives who have cleaned up the house should also go out of the house, thinking about what to cook tonight, to reward the husband who worked hard all day and the children who study hard, with a smile on their faces and mouths. Humming a tune. Here, it is very quiet and peaceful. But, here, it's just in the city, that's all. Sunshine, white clouds, quiet streets, all these scenes are reflected in the eyes of a student on the third floor of the teaching building in the school. Huaxia, Liaoshen Province, Southern District of Beiming City. Southern District Middle School, Class 2, Class 3. AD, 3015. March 2nd, Monday. First day of school. Chen Xingzi sat in the last seat in the classroom by the window. If you are not leaning against the window, how can you see the scenery outside the school gate? With his right elbow resting on the table casually, his right hand leaning on his face, with lazy and radiant eyes, he looked at the distant sky, white clouds, and warm sun. Obviously not listening carefully to the class. Chen Xingzi continued to stare at the sky outside the window, wondering what he was thinking. This city is still that city, but this world is not the same world as it was 300 years ago. In Chen Xingzi's eyes, a large piece of silver suddenly flashed across the sky. The feathers are towering, covering the sky and the sun, and flying quickly, smashing away countless clouds. A silver eagle. Looking in the direction where the silver giant eagle glared, it was a dark red magic bird. The crown of the head was burning with red, orange, and blue flames, and the eyes were full of raging demonic fire. Above the clouds, the two giant birds were like two generals, each riding a war horse in an ancient battlefield. Yuan Ting Yuji, at this moment motionless, blood would be spilled on the spot. One silver and one red. The silver-winged goshawk demon lord and the demon flame scarlet phoenix. The fluttering of the wings affected the hurricane, and the shrieks resounded through the sky. It seems that the next moment, two ferocious magic birds will confront each other on the battlefield in the sky, scattering silver or red feathers from the sky. Chen Xingzi blinked, the two magic birds in his imagination disappeared without a trace. The sky was still the quiet sky, how could there be any magic birds? The white clouds move slowly with the breeze. Just under the sunlight, somewhere above the sky flashed an unnatural reflection of light. Although that thing is colorless, it is also composed of material energy after all, and occasionally reflects light when illuminated by the sun. Safety barrier. It is so peaceful here, the old people enjoy their family, the middle-aged people work hard, and the children study happily in the campus. But outside the barrier, Chen Xingzi looked out the window and thought to himself, there is one more year, just 1 year. After the college entrance examination, at the Comingofage ceremony, the unlocking ceremony can be performed. Become the fittest. At that time, only by getting admitted to an ideal university, practicing hard, and participating in the battlefield outside the city, can you keep all the monsters out of the barrier and protect everyone here. Suddenly, there was a chill down my spine. Could it be that he was targeted by some monster? Impossible, how could there be monsters in the enchantment? Although the southern district of Beiming City is close to the sea, facing the boundless Yellow Sea and Bohai Sea and the endless sea monsters, there is an army stationed on the coast. The army, led by that man. The man with itchy teeth that Chen Xingzi respected, feared, and hated. It's not a monster, could it be? His mood quickly recovered, and sure enough, Chen Xingzi saw a person slowly walking towards him from the podium. A person more terrifying than Warcraft. I'm so crazy. I dare to slip out of the class teacher's class. Under the shroud of a huge crisis, Chen Xingzi was like a computer that was down. Crash, blue screen. There is no operation. Who am I, where am I, what should I do? Standing in front of Chen Xingzi was a female teacher in her 30s. She wore pale pink metal-rimmed glasses, her skin was not fair, and she didn't have any delicate makeup. She was just a simple people's teacher, a gardener. Chen Xingzi, the gardener should be cutting me now. Seeing that the history book in teacher Bai Ziage's hands is gradually rolling into a tube, Chen Xingzi feels that his smart IQ has taken over the high ground again. If you do nothing, you will die miserably. Thinking of this, he hurriedly stood up and lowered his head slightly. I'm sorry, teacher, I slipped away. How cowardly, how cowardly. Bai Xiaojia is not very tall, wearing high heels just over 1.6 meters. She stared at Chen Xingzi, who was almost 1.8 meters tall in front of her, and sighed slowly, "Hey, let me tell you what you want." Pushing on the pink glasses, he continued, "It's the second semester of high school now, and the students in the third grade upstairs have only 100 days left before the college entrance examination. After they graduate, we will be in the third class, and you are still in class now. Get away." Chen Xingzi, Council, Degree, Bai Xiaojia, your college entrance examination is one less subject than others? You only take geography and ideology and politics. Chen Xingzi was like a little daughter-in-law who was angry but didn't dare to resist. No, but also history. Bai Xiaojia, how many did you take in the final exam last time? I seem to remember it pretty well. Forward. Chen Xingzi hesitated. What a joke, how could I remember how many I took the test myself? I only have practice in my mind. Practice. Teacher Bai seemed to have given up what he could ask from Chen Xingzi's mouth. He turned to face Chen Xingzi in front of him and asked, Academic Committee, what was the rank of Chen Xingzi's class and grade in the final exam last semester? When Chen Xingyi heard the teacher calling him, he immediately stood up. The study committee member looked a bit like Chen Xingzi, with an eternal smile on the corner of his mouth. Ah, teacher, let me check. After finishing speaking, Chen Xingyi sat back in his seat and rummaged through the drawer for last semester's grades list. Bai Xiaojia followed this direction and asked somewhere in the front row in the middle of the class, Monitor, you also have transcripts there. You can also look for it together. It may be faster to find two people together than one person. The monitor Yayan had been paying attention to this direction. Hearing the teacher's question, he blushed slightly and stood up. Student Chen Xingzi ranked 5th in the final exam last semester, and the 14th in the grade. After speaking, she quickly sat down. The expression is quite nervous, and the two small hands are holding the pants on his legs, not knowing what he is thinking. Although Yayan is wearing a school uniform, her appearance is not mediocre. Generally, after such a girl goes to college, as long as she dresses up a little and puts on a beautiful dress, many boys will chase after her. Hearing this, the students in the back row of the class began to laugh in low voices. Yayan, whose face was already a little rosy, turned even redder when she heard the laughter of her classmates. What are the students laughing at? Ah, is it because I answered too quickly? Yes, generally speaking, how can a person remember a classmate's ranking and grades so clearly? Yayan lowered her head and covered half of her face with the bangs in front of her forehead, as if that way no one would find her. He glanced back secretly, and found that the eyes of the classmates were all turned towards Chen Xingzi, who stood up and punished to stand. He didn't seem to be laughing at himself before, and the blush on his face gradually faded. The students' attention was all on Chen Xingzi, but no one was wondering why the monitor could name Chen Xingzi's exam ranking so quickly. The students in the back row are generally not as good as those in the front row, with only two exceptions. Chen Xingyi, and his brother Chen Xingzi. The two of them sat in the back row because they were too tall. Chen Xingyi, the study committee member, is always the first in the class, and he is always the first in all grades. He seldom gives up the top scholar to other classes. As for Chen Xingzi, he was hovering between the 3rd and 10th place in the class. Although he is not as good as the younger brother of the school committee, being able to maintain the top 10 in the class is not bad. When teachers criticize students, they usually ask about their grades first, and then they say things such as the grades in a certain subject are too low and this ranking has to work hard, but Chen Xingzi was 5th in the class last semester, so Mr. Bai couldn't say anything. His rank is too low. In their world, the top 10 in the class are all good grades worth looking up to. Chen Xingyi heard that the monitor had answered the teacher's question, so he no longer rummaged through the transcript, but turned around, looking at his twin brother a little worried and speechless. Who would have thought that Chen Xingzi, who was called by the teacher to stand up, even took the time to secretly return a cheap look to Chen Xingyi. Chen Xingyi felt a little disgusted after being sneaked by his brother. He turned around immediately, flipped through his textbook, shook his head and said to himself, "Oh, I shouldn't worry about you, even being called up by the teacher is not honest. I'd better learn by myself." His eyes were full of tenderness. Chen Xingyi really didn't know what to say to this brother. Ming Ming is more serious than him in doing homework every night, but he always deliberately misses several questions during exams. If my brother is willing, he should also be able to answer full marks. Unforgettable, quick thinking. The outward manifestation of strong spiritual power. And spiritual power is an indispensable power in a person, and it is also one of the three major indicators to measure the personal strength of the fittest. When Bai Ziaja heard the light laughter of the classmates, he felt a little irritated, and said to the classmates who were whispering, "What are you laughing at? Can the fifth place in the class slip out of class?" Mr. Bai pushed his glasses and said to Chen Xingyi, "It's not the time for the first year of high school either, and studying this kind of thing can't be relaxed. The teacher doesn't mean to blame you, but I think you and your brother are both very smart children." Teacher Bai, whose tone gradually softened his voice a little, and the anger on his face turned into kindness, and said earnestly, "You should work harder. You can discuss with Chen Xingyi every day when you are studying at home. Question: you two make progress together." Teacher Bai was talking, as if he felt that his tone was too soft, and immediately pretended to be serious and said, "You know what's wrong." Chen Xingyi looked cute when she saw Teacher Bai pretending to be angry, and almost laughed. "Of course, I don't dare to laugh when I laugh. I'm being criticized. If I do laugh, I'm afraid I don't know how I died." Chen Xingyi nodded his head like garlic, "I know it's wrong, I know it's wrong." Mr. Bai stretched out the teaching material that was rolled into a rolling pin in his hand and said, "Well, I won't punish you too much. You go to the corridor with the book and stand for a while, and come back by yourself after 2 or 3 minutes, okay?" Chen Xingyi scratched his head and said with a smile, "Hee, thank you teacher." He turned to pick up the textbook and a black pen on the table, and obediently went to the corridor. As soon as he took 2 steps, he heard Teacher Bai say behind him, "Number 5 in the class. Work hard at the end of this semester, give me a grade 5 exam." Chen Xingyi staggered, did not dare to look back, and walked out quickly. Let's talk, hee hee." Teacher Bai returned to the podium and continued the class. And Chen Xingyi in the corridor also opened his own history textbook. I saw that Chen Xingyi's book was full of notes, perhaps more detailed and complete than Teacher Bai's textbook. Currently, the unified textbooks used by high schools in various provinces in China have more blank space than text content. Students who preview in advance must consult a lot of books and materials in order to have a preliminary grasp of the course, instead of just flipping a few pages back and answering the questions asked by the teacher like in the previous era. Chen Xingyi leaned lazily against the wall in the corridor, looking at his history textbook. Alas, the last unit. Ancient history, Renaissance history. And then there is the history of catastrophe. Students, we are going to study the last unit today. The progress of other subjects should be similar, and they are all nearing the end. After finishing the last unit, we will start to review the college entrance examination. We will soon become the 3rd class of senior high school. In short, everyone must work hard. Teacher Bai pushed his glasses and said, "The last unit, what we are going to learn is the history of cataclysms." No matter how naughty the classmates were before, they all restrained their smiles and became serious, and the atmosphere in the class gradually became solemn. The history of catastrophe, 3 heavy words. In 2700 AD, people were celebrating and looking forward to the night that crossed the century. In the distant universe, a star collapsed and exploded far away from us. The phenomenon of stellar explosions in the history of the universe, it's not uncommon in China, but this time, the energy storm generated by the explosion shredded the already fragile ozone layer, and countless cosmic rays poured into the Earth's atmosphere and merged with the pollutants on the Earth. Teacher Bai told the tragic history vividly and solemnly, and the classmates frowned. Some students whispered, "We must protect the environment. If our ancestors could have treated the earth on which we live, maybe not." Teacher Bai listened to the whispers of the classmates clearly, but did not stop it. Yes, isn't it the original intention of teaching to be able to make students feel something and experience something? Ms. Bai continued her course. After a brief impact and fusion reaction between cosmic energy and earth pollution, a magical energy is produced, and it is this energy that makes the original animals and plants on our earth change into we later called the creatures beasts. Not only that, but this energy also eroded us human beings recklessly. Humans at that time either died from the claws of the monsters, or died under the erosion of energy. This kind of energy was named cataclysm factor by later scientists. The catastrophic factor not only mutated animals and plants, but also awakened ancient creatures that were sleeping underground. Those ancient creatures had unimaginable power in their bodies. Together with the beasts, they attacked the human city. Su Yang, do you have any questions? In the front row of the classroom, a white boy raised his hand. This boy with glasses is called Su Yang, and his academic performance is also in the top 5 in his class all year round, and his attitude towards learning is extremely serious. Every teacher is full of praise for him. His learning attitude was really the opposite of someone in the corridor who was punishing him. Su Yang stood up and asked, "Teacher, I checked Dr. Wang Kunli's catastrophic beasts last night, and Dr. Wang proposed a hypothesis. He believes that those animals and plants that mutate with catastrophic factors are called by us. For the magical beasts, and the other beasts awakened from the ground, would they have mutated from ordinary animals in the earlier ancient times, also affected by catastrophic factors or other elements?" Mr. Bai replied with some surprise, "Yes, www.mtlnovel.com. It seems that Su Yang did take the press duty very seriously last night. This hypothesis does exist, and it has been more than 200 years old, and the biological community is still arguing about it. Endlessly." A loud-sounding classmate in the back row said to himself, "I'll go. These awakened beasts won't be the mythical beasts recorded in the Book of Mountains and Seas and Myths." Although he was talking to himself, his voice was so loud that Teacher Bai could hear it clearly. "Tai Han! Stand up!" Tai Han, who had a loud voice, stood up and muttered in his heart, "I'm already very quiet, how could Teacher Bai still hear me?" Chen Xingzi in the corridor came in and made a mouth gesture to Tai Han, "Tai Han, come out and accompany me." Tai Han turned his head and ignored him, quietly waiting for Teacher Bai's trial. "Teacher Bai, Tai Han, your idea is very good, but next time you have to raise your hand before speaking in class. Sit down first." Tai Han is more than 1.8 meters tall and is the tallest student in the class. Although Teacher Bai is standing on the podium, several meters away from Tai Han in the last row, he still feels a kind of pressure from the tall man on the dwarf. Feel. Teacher Bai looked down at her high heels and thought, "No, I have to buy a higher one. Let's continue the class. Is there any connection between the mutated beast and the awakened ancient beast, and whether the ancient beast is a mutated beast in the ancient times, and why the ancient beast has been sleeping underground?" These questions are now in the academic world. The world is still a hot topic of debate. If you are interested, you can choose to major in biology at university, and continue your studies, study biology, become an expert and conduct research in the future. In short, we generally do not consider these two beasts. Classes are distinguished, but collectively referred to as Warcraft. Let's continue today's history lesson. Indeed. Whether it is ancient beasts or demon beasts, they are the great enemies of mankind. When their minions reach out to defenseless humans, no matter what kind they are all monsters to humans. All monsters. Chen Xingzi held the book in his left hand, and firmly held the pen in his right hand, gritted his teeth, and meditated in his heart, 1 more year. I must unlock the firearms, kill all the monsters, and protect the human city. Closing his eyes and looking inside, Chen Xingzi's mental space was like a chaotic and hazy primordial universe. Dim, silent, lifeless. In the center of the entire universe, there is an extremely faint light. The center of the light seems to be the phantom of a gun. Above the phantom, a rusty and simple chain is wrapped around, sealing this rifle that has already taken shape. 15 years old, the third grade graduation ceremony, the awakening ceremony. On this day, teenagers with the qualifications of the fittest will come into close contact with their own guns for the first time, companions who will accompany him for life. But the lock of this seal can only be unlocked after the 18-year-old common goffage ceremony. This is the rule set by the strong human beings from all over the world, there are no exceptions. Introspection, consciousness can half enter one's spiritual space and observe one's own firearms. However, at this time, Chen Xingzi could only see a group of light bound by chains. Teacher Bai, Warcraft ravages the human world, not only on the land, but also in the sky and the ocean, there are endless monsters. In the 20 years after the cataclysm in 2700, the earth is full of scenes. Hell on earth, crisis in the end times. It is impossible to calculate the price of blood and bones that human beings paid in that dark age. There are only a few historical records, only recording that in those 20 years, human beings used all the technology at that time to develop weapons to fight the invasion and slaughter of monsters. Even so, the population dwindled horribly to 10% of its pre-apocalypse level. Thousands of miles are barren, and there is not 1 out of 10. On January 7, 2720, at 8 o'clock at night, the great scientist, life scientist, genetic biologist we know, launched a satellite that changed the fate of the Earth. That great scholar is you, by the doctor. I believe that when you were in elementary school, you often used the example of Dr. Yu when writing essays. Su Yang in the first row pushed his glasses, his eyes full of longing and awe. Until now, I hope I can become a great scholar like him in the future. Tai Han in the back row obviously didn't have a long memory, and said directly, my brain is no longer a doctor, I will become the most powerful fittest in the future. Kill all these hateful monsters. God knows these hateful monsters killed us at that time. How many compatriots? Maybe my ancestors. Tai Han said as he gritted his teeth. His angry eyes, coupled with his loud voice, gave a sense of the rebirth of Zhang Yide, a Yanran with a leopard head and eyes. Chen Xingyi turned his head and whispered to Tai Han, no, if the monsters really killed your ancestors, where did you come from? Tai Han scratched his head and began to think about what Chen Xingyi said. Well, it makes sense. In the middle of the class, Zhang Hu said, I hope I will be an accessory maker in the future. I heard that every firearm of the fittest must have accessories installed on it to exert greater power. The awakening of the graduation ceremony of the third year of junior high school. There were no awakening firearms at the ceremony, but I also want to do something for those awesome heroes, I want to make the most powerful accessories for them. Zhang Hu lowered his head, if his uncle could install one more accessory, maybe wouldn't it be, abominable beast. The female students in the class had a more intuitive understanding of that history by looking at the textbooks and pictures on the PPT. The feathers cover the sky, and the scales are prosperous. Galloping like lightning, iron armor like a cliff. What is the difference between the human body and tofu in front of the claws of these monsters? It's so scary. I just want to stay in the city and be safe. Woohoo! Why are there such terrifying creatures as Warcraft? I also want to do something for this world, but I don't dare. Am I going to face such a terrifying beast with a gun in the future? Teacher Bai watched as the students' dreams for the future became firmer. Some of them hated beasts, and some were thinking about their future. He patted the table and pulled everyone's thoughts back to the classroom. Dr. Yu is the light of hope for the earth. And he is very indifferent to fame and fortune. We only know his surname Yu, but we don't know his name. Even other scientists of his generation and his collaborators don't know about Yu. The name of the doctor. Everyone only knows that he was the savior of mankind at that time, and he was the Big Dipper of Mount Tai in the scientific world, so later generations of historians have always honored him as Dr. Big Dipper. Dr. Yu launched a total of 2 satellites in 2720. The first satellite was named Mending the Sky. When the sky is broken, I will make up the sky. Dr. Yu stored a large amount of chemical substances on that satellite and launched them into the ozone layer to make up for the hole in the ozone layer. The rays in the universe are no longer poured onto the Earth as they used to be uninhabited. Such a feat is like new WA mending the sky back then. But, although the ozone layer has been repaired completely, the catastrophic factor is no longer generated. However, the catastrophic factor on the Earth still exists. The classmates were silent. Unexpectedly, even if the ozone layer is repaired, human beings will still face the catastrophe of the end of the world. In the corridor, Chen Xingzi poked his head furtively and looked into the classroom. Is it time? Can I come in? The vibe is a bit solemn. I can't spoil the vibe, just stand a little longer. Teacher Bai put down the textbook. This history has long been engraved in his heart, with or without a book, he can describe it completely. The moon patching satellite on January 7 did not save mankind from the apocalypse. Dr. Yu was silent for a week. According to the memories of Dr. Yu's colleagues in his later years, for 7 days and 7 nights, Dr. Yu stayed awake without a drop of water. The moon patching satellite, Nuwa patching the sky, named technology after mythological stories, which is the romance of scientists. Chang'e explores the moon, heavenly palace is in the sky, Xiaolong enters the sea, Wukong explores dark matter in space. But mending the sky, it really fills the sky, but it cannot remove all the catastrophic factors on the earth, and it cannot destroy all the demonic beasts that are ravaging the world. It can only make up for the sky, but it does not make up for the hope of hundreds of millions of people on earth. At that time, Dr. Yu must have felt aggrieved and blamed himself. After a week of silence, Dr. Yu began his world tour. He ignored the objections of his colleagues and family members, and flew a small plane by himself, through the airspace of the magic bird, to all over the world, looking for like-minded partners. Or maybe begging. No one knows what happened that year. We only know that on April 1, Dr. Yu brought more than 50 scientists from all over the world back to Longjing, Huaxia. On April Fool's Day, God did not just kidding with us. The great scholars all over the world spent a month working day and night to build the second satellite. It was still Dr. Yu who named it. The name of this satellite is very simple, or, very direct. To live. We are just begging the sky to live. Speaking of which, Teacher Bai's voice was a little choked up. It's this satellite called Chuzheng that brings new hope to the earth. In the corridor, Chen Xingzi looked at his history book. On it were the notes he made during preview last night. The living satellite, carrying genetic medicine, exploded into a spark of hope above the sky. This satellite, and Dr. Yu's name, will never be forgotten by the people of the world. The East is. This is the great man's evaluation of him. Gene medicine, sprinkled on every inch of the world. Torn apart, and then reorganized people's genes. The field of genes used to be a field that scientists were reluctant to touch, because a little carelessness would have an irreversible impact on the gene pool of all human beings, either positively or negatively. Whether it is ethical or probabilistic, people will not gamble. But when human beings face the crisis of genocide, they have to gamble. This bet has been won. Humanity has undergone genetic changes, and some people have become new human beings who have awakened to the power of firearms. Fittest. Natural selection, survival of the fittest. This is the view and slogan of biological evolution. It is because of this sentence that people call these awakened ones the fittest. At the end of the world, if you are not the fittest, how can you survive? Firearms are originally the endorsement of war and violence, but in the end of the world, they have become the hope of mankind. Chen Xingzi in the corridor looked at teacher Bai, who was getting more and more excited in the classroom, and the classmates who were listening with enthusiasm. He couldn't help covering his face with his hands. It seems that I'm afraid I won't be able to get in before get out of class is over. It's not that Chen Xingzi's heart is iron, but he has long been familiar with this history, so now he is not as indignant and agitated as when his classmates first learned about it. Thinking about it, it was still 13 or 14 years old. He and his younger brother sneaked into Dad's office and read the books on the shelf, but no one found the brothers and drove them out. Why is there anyone in the office? If the soldiers were all in the office, who would go outside the enchantment to fight in blood? Since the awakening of human beings in 2720, in the spring and autumn of 300 years of glory, people have set up security barriers and built cities to multiply within the barrier, but outside the city, there is still a meat grinder for war between humans and monsters. Without the protection of the fittest and soldiers, how can the common people live in peace? The fittest survive. Chen Xingzi leaned against the wall, but there was a hint of disapproval on the corner of his mouth. Survival of the fittest does not mean that only the fittest can survive. If only the fittest have the right to survive, how many ordinary people who have not awakened will lose their right to survive? Chen Xingzi followed the window of the corridor and looked at the sky in the distance. The survival of the fittest is not only the survival of the fittest. Only those who can survive with their family, friends, compatriots, and even all human beings are worthy of being called the fittest. That's what's called survival of the fittest. Chen Xingzi looked at the vast clouds in the distance, and couldn't help but look forward to the future. Hiding in the barrier is not the son of a soldier. I want to become the strongest, fittest, and fight the monsters to withdraw from the human world. The citizens living in the city are human, and the soldiers who stay outside the barrier for months without sleeping and not daring to close their eyes are also raised by their fathers and mothers. What? Chen Xingzi remembered the stretcher covered with white linen in the military camp every year, and the soldiers who put the stretcher down, but couldn't look at their comrades for a second with red eyes, and then rushed out of the barrier without hesitation. The fire was smothered in his throat and could not be vented. Even if I die outside the barrier, we must also fight to the last moment of life and shed the last drop of blood. Okay, okay. I have lived for half my life, and today I understand what it means to survive the fittest. A vicissitudes of life and full of anger came from the ear. Chen Xingzi quickly put away his sloppy action, and stood by the wall standing upright. Although it is not comparable to the standard military posture of a soldier, it is not far. Joke. There are only two types of people who can be in the corridor during class time: students and teachers who are punished for standing. And those who can walk around and dare to speak are definitely not the students who came out and punished them. Chen Xingzi turned his head to look at the person who was speaking, and opened his mouth in shock. School. Hello, principal. Mom, doesn't the principal claim to be the school's mascot? Meeting outside all the year round. Of course, it is also possible to go out to fight with monsters. In short, Chen Xingzi has been studying at the school for 2 years, and he has never seen the principal appear in the school. Usually, only the vice principal and the director preside over the opening ceremony or various large-scale events. Why is it today? Just when I was penalized? The principal is here. Shame. Principal Zhou smiled and waved to Chen Xingzi, and said, "Ha ha ha, it's okay, you don't need to stand so straight, just lean against the wall." After that, he was actually beside Chen Xingzi, leaning against the wall. The same action as a hooligan. Ahem, the same action as I just did. Chen Xingzi complained silently in his heart, this is his body, but he doesn't dare to be as casual as the principal. The principal complained, I haven't stayed at the school for a long time, and I don't know if this wall will fall off ashes. I'm wearing a black suit. The principal, who was nearly 60 years old, smiled kindly, and Chen Xingzi scratched his head. The principal was more approachable than expected. But he is not just as simple as he looks. Although it was very light, Chen Xingzi could still smell the blood on the headmaster. There is no sea smell, isn't it the blood of the Sea clan? It seems that it is not a monster that was killed on the boundary of the southern district of Beiming City. Through the collar of the principal's suit, Chen Xingzi saw a badge. Red as the base, 1 gold star, 1 bronze star. If I remember correctly, this should be the rank badge of a lieutenant-level powerhouse, right? Unexpectedly, the principal is still a captain at the level of the fittest. It's really not that simple. At the same time, the principal was also looking at Chen Xingzi. The body looks loose, but it's actually tight. In the event of danger, you can instantly rise up and adjust your body. It's definitely not an ordinary student without training. He doesn't have fitness on his body, and he hasn't completed the unlocking ceremony, so he's not the fittest. But the body, the strength and spirit look quite like a blade, and he is a trainer. Second year, third class, with such sharp eyes, it seems to be the child of that person, so speaking, he should have a younger brother who is also in this class. Without Chen Xingzi's knowledge, the cunning principal had already figured out his information. Principal Zhou said, "You little classmate, you have a very high level of ideological awareness. I have lived in vain in my life, and no 17 or 18-year-old child has seen it thoroughly. Survival of the fittest. It turned out to be such a survival of the fittest. Ah ha 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 ha." Chen Xingzi looked at the old urchin who was smiling without any grace in front of him. He couldn't imagine that the principal's true face was like this. If you want to talk clichés, the current principal is definitely the time to let down your guard. Whether he is smiling sincerely or pretending to be like this on purpose. Hesitation will lead to defeat. No matter what he is, let's go up and talk about it. Now Chen Xingzi has access to too little information, 2 lies are 2 sentences. Hey, no, principal, please stop complimenting me. I'm just an ordinary student. I can't compare to the principal. I don't think I'm a sea monster from the southern district. Principal Zhou laughed and said, "Ha ha ha, isn't it? This is not a trip to Longjing for a meeting, and I came back on the way." Halfway through his words, he stopped abruptly. The principal restrained his smile a little, and dignified a little. "It's not that I have any opinion on Chen Xingzi, it's just too embarrassing." A person in his 60s almost made a 17-year-old half-hearted talk. When the conversation changed, he immediately changed his tune. "The seafood market in Longjing is indeed not as big as our Beiming city. I have been shopping for a long time and have not found satisfactory fish, and the capital is not easy to use. If you want to eat seafood, it is Beiming City. The freshest." The sly and cunning old man, he is obviously the blood of the monsters, so he pretended to be buying food. Principal Zhou's acting skills exploded, his eyes widened, and he asked, "What? Can you still smell blood? I obviously changed my clothes before, it's broken. I'll definitely be scolded by my old lady when I go home." After sighing, Principal Zhou lowered his head and looked uninterested, as if he was really worried that he would be scolded by his wife when he returned home at night. Chen Xingzi, _hehe. The old principal must have graduated from the Department of Acting. At this time, Teacher Bai's course in the classroom has entered the next stage. "Students, did you prepare carefully last night? Can anyone answer the question of how many disciplines did Dr. Yu use in his second launch of the survival satellite?" Tai Han in the back row was the first to raise his hand. "Teacher, I think there is genetics." Teacher Bai smiled and encouraged, "Yes, you do have knowledge of genetics. Tai Han did a good job today, you have to study hard in the future." Tai Han sat down slowly, thinking to himself, how could it be that easy, I only came up with this after racking my brains, and this is probably the easiest answer. There must be genetics that can change the sequence of human genes and awaken firearms. I have to study hard in the future. Only by studying hard can you get into a better university. As we all know, the more famous the university, the higher the level of teachers and students. Only in such a university can you receive better education and the faster you will cultivate. Of course, you can also choose to join the army after the college entrance examination and become a soldier of the country. Teacher Bai tapped the names of the classmates who raised their hands one by one. Su Yang. Yan, tell me. Chen Xingyi will add more. Teacher, I think there is aerodynamics. To be able to spread the medicine evenly all over the world, there should be aerodynamics. And as far as launching the satellite itself, the knowledge of aerodynamics should also be used. Teacher, I think there is still biological knowledge. Dr. Yu and the others should have studied the structure of monsters and human bodies, and made potions that are only suitable for humans. Otherwise, in case the monsters also awakened firearms or became stronger, that's scary. There should be pharmacology. To make a medicine, you must analyze the pharmacology of various components before they can be combined to make a medicine. Seeing the students take the initiative to answer the questions one by one, Mr. Bai couldn't wait to open his mouth with joy. It seems that today's class is not in vain. After learning the history of this catastrophe, the students have grown up, and they are all very motivated. Hi! Teacher Bai pushed his glasses. Hey, I seem to have forgotten something. What did I forget? Chen Xingzi, _? You forgot that I'm still in the corridor, beautiful teacher. In just a few minutes, the students answered actively, and together they formed a more and more complete set of answers. Classmates, everyone's performance is very good. Now, there is the last answer that you haven't thought of yet, only the last subject is left. Do you have any ideas? Tai Han was shivering in the last row. I couldn't understand the fifth subject, I just had to take notes, but I didn't expect that there would be another one. Crying face, what university did I study? I don't think I could pass the test. Seeing that the classmates were quiet, Mr. Bai took the initiative to attack, and called up the school committee he was more optimistic about. Chen Xingyi, did you know? Chen Xingyi stood up embarrassedly, with a shy smile on his face. Mr. Bai, I just found so many. The teacher waved his hand. It's okay, please take a seat. Chen Xingyi sat down slowly. Teacher Bai looked at the front row, and Su Yang raised his hands a little less confidently. Teacher, I also found a subject www.mtlnovel.com microphysics below the quark level. I don't know if it's right. Tai Han, immortals fight, you can't be provoked, can't be provoked. Mr. Bai was a little surprised, his eyes flashing light. Su Yang is very good. The last one is microphysics below the quark level. The name of this subject is very awkward, everyone just try to remember the name, the specific subject content is not necessary understand, after all, we're taking a history class right now. The research content of microphysics below the quark level is all microscopic matter below the quark level. Conjuring guns out of thin air violates the law of conservation of energy. In fact, the process of embodying firearms is the process of releasing certain microscopic substances in the body into the body, and arranging and combining them outside the body to form a firearm entity. All right, the teacher is not very clear about the specific principles. If students are interested, they can consult the physics teacher in the physics class. These 22 subjects should be kept in mind and are the focus of the exam. Chen Xingzi in the corridor found that he couldn't get a word out of the principal's mouth, so he began to listen carefully, and the principal didn't bother him, but he didn't leave. After listening to Teacher Bai's words, Chen Xingzi looked at the notes he made in the book and said to himself, is there only 22 types? It seems that I think too much. Principal Zhou, who was beside Chen Xingzi, stretched out his head and looked curiously at Chen Xingzi's textbook. There were several rows of notes clearly written on it. Words are like blades, sharp with firmness. In the bottom row, it is clearly written, 23. Psychology. The principal's eyes widened, as if a living person had seen a ghost. He took Chen Xingzi's hand and walked into the classroom. Good boy. It's really not easy, I'll accompany you in today. Tell everyone about it. This 23rd subject. Ha 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 ha. Don't look at the fact that the principal is already in his 60s, but he is a real captain of the fittest. With all his strength, is it something that a child like Chen Xingzi, who has not unlocked his firearm, can resist? Principal Zhou dragged Chen Xingzi and walked in through the back door of the classroom. Mr. Bai, who was teaching history, was stunned when he saw the principal. Obviously, he did not expect the principal to appear here. It stands to reason that the principal should have a meeting in Longjing these days. Why did he come back? And he also pulled Chen Xingzi. At this time, Teacher Bai felt 10,000 regrets in his heart. She seldom punishes students, but today she only asked Chen Xingzi to stand in the corridor for 2 minutes, but she was bumped by the principal. This is really no luck. But, why is the principal smiling so happily? Still holding hands with Chen Xingzi? As the principal gradually walked towards the podium from the back of the classroom, the students who were listening to the class also discovered that the old man who entered the classroom was Principal Zhou, who usually saw only the photos but not the real person, and the dragon saw the head but not the tail. As a result, "Hello, Principal," sparsely rang out in the classroom. The principal's face was full of smiles, and he didn't know what happened to be happy. Teacher Bai thought in his heart, "Sigh, as long as you don't come to criticize me." Immediately, he looked at Chen Xingzi. Chen Xingzi and Teacher Bai looked at each other and smiled bitterly. "I don't want to either. I'm obediently listening to the class, although it's in the corridor. But the principal suddenly insisted on pulling me in." At this time, Principal Zhou was very happy. If nothing else, the child around him is a genius. Physical fitness, yes. Mental strength, judging from his IQ, can also be. Talent, that person's son, where will he be? Also, he is very thoughtful. Unless the notes he wrote in the book were scribbles. Of course, this possibility is very small. A smart mind, coupled with the talent of the Hawkeye family. In the future, maybe he will become the pinnacle of human beings. One person suppresses one domain, and turns his hands to slaughter the Beast King. Chen Xingyi looked at his brother's cramped expression on the podium, and thought to himself, "No way, the psychology my brother said last night was really written down by him? And just happened to be seen by the principal? Living satellites, fitness awakening, what is the relationship between it and psychology?" Chen Xingyi closed his eyes, his thoughts ran fast, and after a while, he opened his eyes and looked at his brother with a smile in his eyes. Chen Xingyi's talent is comparable to Chen Xingzi's, and his mental strength is not inferior. After a little thinking, it becomes clear. Principal Zhou said loudly, "I'm sorry, Mr. Bai, I saw this little classmate in the corridor and couldn't help but chat with him a few words. I felt that he was very smart. Just now, I saw in his book that preliminary notes wrote the 23rd discipline applied to the survival satellite." Yan looked at Chen Xingzi nervously and worried, "Ah, how come there are 23rd courses? Didn't Mr. Bai say that there are only 22 courses, will Chen Xingzi be criticized?" Su Yang frowned, racking his brains, thinking about whether there really exists a 23rd discipline, and if so, what is it? The other students also made eye contact with the classmates around them. From each other's eyes, they saw the same 4 words: "I don't know." "Principal, I won't sell anything to everyone, what he wrote in the book is psychology." He turned to look at Chen Xingzi, "Don't be nervous, people can talk freely about academic matters. It doesn't matter what you say to everyone, right or wrong." Chen Xingzi heard the principal's instruction, and Yu Guang also saw Teacher Bai's eyes with 3-point doubt and 3-point encouragement. He didn't hesitate, and stood in the middle of the podium generously, and said in his heart, "It seems that today my luck is not very good. First, I was found by Teacher Bai, and now I was pulled in by the principal and asked me to give a lecture." Chen Xingzi said to his classmates, "I didn't find this answer in the book. Speaking of which, it was actually a little conjecture that I came up with in my own mind last night. I don't know if it's right or not. Since that's the case, I'll tell you about me. Idea. The awakening potion launched by Dr. Yu has brought us great changes and hope of turning the world around. After the genetic mutation, the firearms of the fittest awakened in a total of 8 categories. They are rifles, sniper rifles, and submachine guns, shotguns, hand cannons, tranquilizers, machine guns, and pistols. These 8 types of firearms have their own advantages and disadvantages, and their advantages and disadvantages complement each other and restrain each other. Only after a reasonable configuration and forming a complete team can they maximize their full combat effectiveness, and at the same time, it also ensures that the fittest is in the war with the beasts. Safety in battle. Different firearms can play different roles in different fields. I guess that Dr. Yu must have used the knowledge of psychology at that time to make adjustments to the types of firearms awakened by each of the first generation of the fittest, or, in other words, this kind of potions can awaken the most suitable firearms according to the psychology of the human generation at that time. The classmates and Teacher Bai listened to Chen Xingzi's conjecture and were extremely surprised. At the same time, their curiosity was like someone scratching their heads in their hearts. They stared at Chen Xingzi with a pair of eyes, hoping that he would continue to speak quickly. Chen Xingzi, in today's era, the pressure of survival has been reduced too much. The ancestors shed their blood and poured out their blood to create a city barrier for us, so that we can live a happy life now, even if we don't become the fittest. You can live well in the city. But in the era of cataclysm, all the people are soldiers. Everyone must fight the monsters to the death. Because we can't guarantee whether we will survive and whether human beings will survive this crisis. In that era, we could not tolerate the existence of any uncertain factors. The fittest had to fight on the front line, and the ordinary people who could not wake up also had to fight. Only by mobilizing all factors to form a united front to join the battle, can the maximum possible guarantee of the people's well-being be ensured. Chances of survival. It is impossible for Dr. Yu to make the awakening potion without taking these things into consideration. Only by letting everyone play an effective role in their positions can they kill more monsters and allow more people to survive. If a grumpy person wakes up with a sniper rifle, will he rush to the front line with a gun to fight beasts? If so, what's the difference between a sniper rifle and a stick in his hand? Similarly, if the cowardly person awakens the submachine gun, who can guarantee that every once cowardly person will become the first to dare to charge forward bravely? The same is true of other firearms. Submachine guns can only be effective in the hands of brave and decisive people who are not afraid of death. Sniper rifles must be in the hands of people who can withstand loneliness. No false shots. The shotgun is close to the body, and the machine gun's mid-range firepower is suppressed. Each one does his own way and performs his own duties. In this way, our seniors have won this doomsday survival battle. In order to ensure that human beings can win the battle of dignity of life and death, Dr. Yu probably took psychological factors into consideration when making the potion, and through the awakening potion, the first generation of the fittest awakened the most suitable for them. Firearms. Later, through the inheritance from generation to generation, the psychological factors in the medicine continued to decrease. Instead, the types of firearms awakened were determined by genetic factors. Up to now, the types of awakening firearms should be largely determined by parents. The type of firearms on both sides will decide. Chen Xingzi had finished speaking on the podium, but the classmates in the seats and the Teacher Bai next to him were still immersed in this conjecture that subverted the worldview, and it was difficult for him to calm down for a long time. Only the principal did not indulge in it, but stood aside and looked at Chen Xingzi with a smile. Now he is very much looking forward to what kind of cultivation Chen Xingzi will be after graduating from university in 5 years? Lieutenant, colonel, or general? The principal looked at Chen Xingzi and smiled more and more happily, so that Chen Xingzi had the illusion that he was regarded as a son-in-law. Do not. It's the grandson-in-law. Why is the principal looking at me like this? Does he have a conspiracy? There must be a conspiracy. The old principal still smiled, looking at the talented young man in front of him. He even felt that he was so happy that he was several years younger. Little did he know that Chen Xingzi had already complained about him in his heart for more than 20,000 words, and his impression of him changed from a kind old principal to a very shrewd and scheming old man. After a while, Teacher Bai regained his senses, with doubts and admiration in his eyes, and looked at the principal and Chen Xingzi, who were staring at him in a complicated way. I don't know why, but my heart is still a little uneasy. Chen Xingzi's words make sense, but can books be wrong? Teacher Bai pushed his glasses and was shaken in his heart. Principal Zhou clapped his hands lightly and brought everyone back to the classroom. Students, what do you think? Did the launch of the Kaihuo satellite really apply the knowledge of psychology? Before the students could speak, he said to himself again, Dao, I just went to Longjing to hold an academic seminar in the past few days. Coincidentally, several experts in the industry have also put forward similar ideas. For now, this issue is still under study, and it will take about 2 weeks. It will take 3 years of research to get the exact result. Perhaps some future books will really need to be revised. No matter what the result is, it is worth affirming to have such independent thinking. Everyone should learn the spirit of daring to challenge academic authority. Chen Xingzi blushed when he was praised. He was neither sitting nor sitting on the stage, and he didn't know how to let go of his hands. The old principal asked Chen Xingzi, I've been talking about it for a long time, but I still don't know the name of this little classmate. Principal, my name is Chen Xingzi. The old principal's expression remained unmoved, and he muttered in his heart, as expected, the people of the Chen family. He quietly glanced at the good student Chen Xingyi sitting on the seat. The old principal smiled, these brothers, they must be the pride of the school in the future. Hey, by the way, how was Chen Xingzi's grades last semester, and what is his grade rank? The principal suddenly asked. Chen Xingzi hadn't reacted yet. Why even the principal asked me about my grades today? Hey, Muziulin, the wind will destroy it, I'm still too good. Just when someone was about to answer after being intoxicated, Teacher Bai said, Principal, Chen Xingzi is 5th in the last grade of last semester. Chen Xingzi. Where is the 5th grade? It's the 5th in the class and the 14th in the grade. Miss Bai, did you remember wrong? Turning his head to look, Chen Xingzi saw a wicked smile on Teacher Bai's face. Teacher Bai, you were not like this before. Why is it starting to smack me behind my back now? It must be because the principal has a halo of conspiracy and tricks, and those who are enveloped by the halo will become old foxes. The principal did not doubt the authenticity of the 5th place in the grade. Yes, we have to keep it this semester, it would be even better if we can improve. Chen Xingzi. The head of a school is very skilled in the world of people. You can't praise only one person, and other students must not be left out in the cold. Students, you are all the pillars of the future of the motherland, and the hope of our Beiming city. Everyone, they are the closest children of us who are teachers. Usually, we punish you and criticize you. In fact, we are also very sad. Teacher Bai also nodded beside him. Okay. Professional cheers. Chen Xingzi complained. I'm still too young. Our purpose is actually to make you realize the importance of learning, to fall in love with learning, to constantly improve yourself, and to enrich yourself. Children, it's fate that I entered this class today, ha 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 ha, I'm disturbing everyone in class. Teacher Bai, I'll go first, and the students continue to have a good class. Come on, Principal Joe saw that he led everyone enthusiastic about learning and ready to leave. Classmates, goodbye, Principal. The principal smiled, waved his hand, and left the classroom. As a strong captain, he is not a full-time professional in education. Since the establishment of the school for so many years, how many students have had face-to-face contact with the principal? This time, we are separated from each other, and in this lifetime, it should be difficult to see each other again. Most of the students in this classroom couldn't go very far in their cultivation. Maybe it was Ching Feng, maybe it was the soldiers who came to an end. Staying in the city, being a company employee, a teacher, a civil servant in a government agency, a scientific research scholar. A few of them may be able to become a solid pillar of the country's combat effectiveness, guarding a city or district, or becoming a beast hunter, forming a team to hunt monsters outside the city, and everyone will use their own ways to serve themselves. Motherland. Principal Joe thought about it and couldn't help laughing. In these years, I have been running around, holding meetings here, participating in academic research there, and helping defend the city. Alas, I am in the realm of a lieutenant commander. I say low is not low, and high is not high. I'm going back to school this time, so I won't leave. I'm over 60, it's useless, hee. I don't dare to kill beasts like I did when I was young, in the face of life and death, who can truly be selfless? Without the enthusiasm of his youth, even if Principal Joe is a captain of the fittest, he is still just an ordinary old man. Children will enjoy the happiness of the family. As the fittest, it should not be so comfortable. But he has already sold most of his life for the motherland. How can the country be cold to the hearts of the people? The country will not forget anyone who has shed blood for the people. Hey, it was said that I was asked to go to a meeting, but in fact it was a notice to restrict me, a poor old man, from leaving the city. Anyway, I won't live for a few years, just stay in the city and stay at school. Principal Joe, tears are pouring out, and I will live my life for the country. When I get old, I can't stand it anymore. If I were 10 years younger, I would dare to leave the city for 100 miles, exchange my life for my life, and kill 7 or 8 elite monsters to be buried with me. Now, looking at this youthful campus, Principal Joe hurriedly wiped away his tears with his cuffs. Shame. Why are you crying at such a young age? Compared to the meat grinder outside the city, this school can also let me exert my residual heat. Everyone here is the hope of our country. Warm sun, light wind, youth. In the classroom, Mr. Bai said, there are 3 minutes left before get out of class ends. Students, hurry up and read the book. I'll tell you another page. Chen Xingzi, go back to your seats. Chen Xingzi on the podium gritted his teeth and said, Teacher, I'll take the principal off. He ignored Teacher Bai's shouts behind him and rushed out of the classroom. In the school, the principal looked at the flowers, plants, and trees that he usually didn't look at carefully, lingering, cherishing every inch of peace, hearing the footsteps behind him, without turning his head. Why, isn't the get out of class yet? Why? Out. Chen Xingzi took a breath. Hey, come out and see the principal. Principal Joe turned around and said, Stop pretending, I don't believe it, you just came out to see me? What's the matter? Tell me now. Old fox. Chen Xingzi secretly slandered. Then he pretended to be a good student and scratched his head. Principal, just because I just performed well, please answer a question for me. I really have some problems. I want to ask you. The principal smiled, non-committal. Chen Xingzi stretched out 3 fingers and asked tentatively, 3? Can you be the principal? Principal Joe smiled wickedly and stretched out 2 fingers, yes. There are still 2 questions left. Chen Xingzi was startled, and his heart was really an old fox, even a pure child like me was deceived. The principal, you have to answer properly, don't lie to me. The principal stretched out a finger. www.mtlnovel.com. Chen Xingzi. What I said just now was clearly not a question. It's not even a question. Don't waste the opportunity. Chen Xingzi dared to guarantee that as long as he said anything casually, the old principal would renege on his debt and say this sentence is the third question he asked. Chen Xingzi took a deep breath and adjusted his mind. Who principal, please tell me. What is the name of the fifth system skill of the rifle, as long as the name is fine? Principal Zhou saw that Chen Xingzi was so serious, and even his eyes flashed with obsession. He stopped talking about him, sighed, and said two words, SIU. SIU? Tear Jade? Prison? Chen Xingzi stood where he was, thinking. Principal Zhou left quietly without disturbing him. I only know the pronunciation, but I don't know which two words it is. I can't get any info on this either. When he came back to his senses, Chen Xingzi looked around, but he could no longer see the headmaster. Hey! When did you leave? I haven't said hello to the headmaster yet. Jingle bell, the light and sweet bell rang on the campus, and Chen Xingzi remembered that just now, in order to chase the principal, he ran out without even listening to the class. You won't be beaten by teacher Bai, right? Chen Xingzi shrank his head, and hesitantly and cowardly moved towards the classroom. Stretching his head to peek, seeing that teacher Bai had already left the get out of class, he entered the classroom with confidence and boldness. He hurriedly patted his younger brother, Xiao Yat. You said, SIU, what two words are they? Xiao Ye wondered, SIU? What is that? Brother, you went out and asked the principal? This is Chen Xingzi, Rifle System Skills. Fifth skill. Chen Xingzi took out a small book from his school bag, opened the somewhat curled cover, and wrote a few strokes on one of the pages. At the top of this page, the word rifle was written in red, and the 4 lines at the bottom were killing intent, curse nail, soul and magic shadow. Now, Chen Xingzi wrote "See in the 5th line. Xiao Ye casually put his arm on his brother's shoulder and asked, the principal actually told you the name of a skill, it's incredible. Generally speaking, adults are always secretive about the world of the fittest. How to cultivate, how to become stronger, the specific information of accessories, the names of system skills shared by the world, all of them don't tell us. No matter how many books Chen Xingzi and his younger brother checked, and how much effort they secretly made, in the end, they only got a little bit of piecemeal information. System skills are common combat skills for the fittest, common to the world. Except for pistols, the other 7 firearms each have 5 universal skills, and these skills are called system skills. When the world has just entered the age of the fittest, the awakened people all over the world share the same hatred, concentrate their efforts, and work together to create the crystallization of wisdom. It is also because of the concerted efforts of all countries in the world that human beings have created a world and a paradise for human survival in that era of disaster. Chen Xingzi sighed, Xiao Yat, you say, why isn't there anything about the fittest in the book? Chen Xingyi thought for a while, it's not that it's not written in the book. It should be that we can't access books about the fittest. Only by becoming the fittest can we access these things. This is also how the world of the fittest treats ordinary people. A little bit of protection from the world, just like adults who have something sad, they won't tell us. Chen Xingzi, but we are not too young. We are all 17, and we will complete the unlock next year and officially become the fittest. Xiao Ye smiled and comforted, so Akradine, we are not the fittest yet. We are in the position to seek political affairs, and now we should study hard, and when we become the fittest next year, we can get in touch with adults. The world. Chen Xingzi still wanted to say something, but the bell for class had already rang, so he had to give up and go back to his seat obediently. The last section is a self-study class, where students can study freely. Of course, you must pay attention to discipline. You can't talk or walk around at will. In the corridor, there is a teacher on duty to check the discipline of each class. In this class, there was no teacher to come over to teach the topic, so everyone took out their workbooks and started to write today's homework. Chen Xingzi casually flipped through a math test question, and just after making 2 choices, he clenched his fists and thought, I must read a lot of books in the future. Jingle bell ding bell bell, if there is anything better than the school bell, it should be the school bell. The classmates packed up their school bags, but Chen Xingzi was absent-minded. The homework is all done, and the next day's homework is almost ready. I really don't know what books to bring back. Chen Xingzi packed 2 exercise books, and Chen Xingzi put his notes of the fittest into his school bag. Chen Xingyi, who had already packed his things, was waiting for his brother to pack his school bag. Seeing that he was carrying a small notebook with him, he smiled and said, Brother, you bring back your notebook again. Chen Xingzi, yeah. I'll take it, how can I do it? Xiao Ye smiled and waved his hands in surrender. Between the 2 brothers, Chen Xingyi always took the initiative to admit his counsel and let his little brother. Chen Xingzi too, always had an iceberg face to unfamiliar outsiders, but he was also infected with his younger brother who loved to smile, with a smile on his face. Brotherly love, it's really good. Chen Xingzi asked, Little Ye, do you want to go to the training center to play a scrimmage later? Then he hooked Chen Xingyi's neck and shoulders. Chen Xingyi pretended to resist and gave him a push, and let his brother hug him. No way. Uncle, you should pick us up outside and go home. Let's exercise in the barracks at night. Chen Xingzi, hey, good. Let's compete tonight to see who is the little spicy chicken. Xiao Ye, humph, I haven't exercised for a long time, and I feel like my body doesn't obey me. It's all your fault. Pulling me last night makes my body feel bad everywhere. The classmates around him overheard it, and there were strange eyes. Chen Xingzi hurriedly explained, Study. Study. He turned his hand and patted the back of Xiao Yi's head, Why can't you talk properly? It's because I didn't run last night, I'm pulling you all the knowledge from the first month of this semester. I've already prepared for it. Make up for it tonight. Let's run him. Don't get drunk. Yayan walked over awkwardly, holding a pink notebook in her hand, and said timidly, Chen Xingzi, these are my historical notes. You were in the corridor during class, so you probably didn't write them all down. Lend them to me. You. The senior squad leader in front of him held the notes in both hands and stretched out to him, but he lowered his head and did not look up at himself. When talking to others, look into people's eyes. It's the most polite thing to do. A straight man thought so in his heart. Chen Xingzi scratched his head and said with a smile, Thank you, squad leader, don't worry about it for now. Goodbye, squad leader. After speaking, he dragged Xiao Ye home in a hurry. Yayan's face was lowered, and she was about to arch into her neckline, blushing as if she was about to bleed. Did I frighten classmate Chen Xingzi? I didn't do this before, why did I take the initiative to lend him my notes today? Holding the note in her hand, Yayan felt dizzy, a light wind blew across her bangs, and she heard the sound of the book being flipped by the wind. Yayan turned his head and saw that the history book on Chen Xingzi's desk was blown by the wind, and the notes he had memorized were densely written on it. The words are so beautiful. Yayan murmured, then quickly returned to her seat, put her pink notebook back in the drawer, and trotted out of the classroom, for fear of being overheard what she just said. On the other hand, Chen Xingzi was struggling, why did the squad leader borrow my notes? I haven't said a few words in the past 2 years? Women, it's really hard to understand. It's still interesting to firearms and practice. Xiao Ye looked at his brother and said, Steel straight man. Chen Xingzi, Omega. The 2 brothers crossed each other's shoulders. Ah no, it was Chen Xingzi who hugged his brother, and Chen Xingyi was forced to cross his shoulders and walked out of the campus gate. Every day after school, there are always cars parked in front of the school. Parents come to pick up their children from school and go home together. Chen Xingzi looked around and saw a familiar face from the sea of people and the sea of cars. The man looked to be only 30 years old, with sharp eyebrows, a high nose, and bright eyes, but for some reason, his face was decadent. She was wearing casual clothes, and there was an ordinary car beside her. Of course, if you come out to pick up people in a car with an army license plate, how eye-catching! Yu Jinding kicked the tire of the car fiercely, and whispered, "It's so annoying. I have to pick up these two unfortunate children from school every day. Look, I won't kill these two little for a while. There are so many ink marks after school, I can't get out of the traffic jam for a while. Alas, trouble. Uncle Yu." Xiao Ye patted Yu Jinding on the back politely. Yu Jinding turned around with a smile on his face. "Oh, you've come out. My two little ancestors, get on the bus, how about it, did you study hard at school today? Chen Xingzi. You were not like this just now." Sure enough, no one can escape the true fragrance law. Yu Jinding recalled what Chen Xingyi called him just now, and said sternly, "How many times have I said it? Don't call me uncle, I'm only 30 this year. My name is Brother Yu." Chen Xingyi smiled embarrassedly and said, "Hey, Brother Yu." Yu Jinding was very satisfied and looked at Chen Xingzi. Chen Xingzi said reluctantly, "Brother Yu." Yu Jinding was happy now, as if he was not the same person who was scolding just now. He opened the door on his own initiative and reminded him to fasten his seat belt. 5-star praise for perfect service. The brothers sat down in the back seat. Yu Jinding also sat in the driver's seat, fastened his seat belt, and said, "Sit down, we're going back." The brothers lived in the military camp compound, which was a military community. The families of the soldiers could live here for free. And the family members of military veterans with higher military age and higher ranks can live in a small row of 3-story villas by the sea. The first villa was Chen Xingzi's home. This is welfare, but also self-alert and restraint. With the family behind us, we must protect the barrier line. Chen Xingzi looked at Yu Jinding who was driving. Although he was wearing plain clothes, as a fittest person, the badge on his chest was generally not taken off. The badge of the fittest symbolizes power and status. Although many entrepreneurs may never go to the battlefield outside the city to kill monsters in their lives, they still wear the BIBA level badge on their chest as a capital to show off with their talent, and can only cultivate so far. During the practice, there are rumors that there are 9 levels in total. For more than 10 years, Chen Xingzi has been putting on a suit from the big mouth of Yu Jinding day and night, and he has also obtained a lot of information. At present, only the first 4 ranks are known: Qing Feng, Soldier, Sergeant, Captain. The next level up, I don't know what it's called. Supposedly, there should be 9 levels in total, but maybe not. Who knows if these adults are lying to me about studying less. On the chest of the jade golden tripod is a badge with a red bottom engraved with 2 stars, 1 silver and 1 black, symbolizing the realm of sergeants. Every time he saw this badge, Chen Xingzi couldn't help but tease him, so he opened his mouth and said, "Generally speaking, when the firearm is unlocked, the fittest will reach the Qing Feng realm. With continuous practice, the realm will become more and more advanced. The higher you are." Soldiers have been fighting monsters for almost a whole year. Compared to the fittest who cultivated themselves in the city, their progress should be quite fast. After so many years in the army, how come you are still a sergeant, Uncle Yu? Yu Jinding was driving the car and was furious. "My name is Brother Yu." "Brother Yu? Good Uncle Yu." "Yu Jinding, little bastard." Chen Xingzi smirked. "Xiao Ye, give Uncle Yu a set of data analysis." Yu Jinding held the steering wheel tightly with both hands, and the knuckles on his fingers turned white. "I really want to kill you two little bastards." Snort. "Weather me every day." Compared with Chen Xingzi, Chen Xingyi is much better. However, his greatest advantage is listening to his brother. So, regardless of the threatening look that Yu Jinding conveyed to him in the rear-view mirror, Chen Xingyi followed his brother's instructions to come up with a set of well-founded data analysis. The average standard of a soldier is to become the fittest after being unlocked at the age of 18. After joining the army, recruit training, and the next few months will be a period of strength blowout. Even the least qualified person will become a soldier in the first half of the year. In here, it will also reach the state of the military guard. A recruit for 2 years. If you can cultivate to the rank of sergeant, you can be promoted to the rank and serve as a low-level officer. The higher the realm, the higher the rank. Therefore, regardless of other countries, as far as China is concerned, the naming of the rank of the fittest is also important. All use names similar to military rank. Qing Feng, the vanguard of the great youth of the motherland. A soldier, an ordinary soldier. Sergeant, sergeant officer. Lieutenant commander, lieutenant level rank. Although the future level is not clear for the time being, it should be the same. Xiao Ye smiled, "Brother Yu, you're already in your 30s, and you're still my dad's bodyguard, why are you sergeant?" To be precise, Principal Zhou is not a full-time fighter, but only occasionally goes to the wild to fight monsters. Even so, he can cultivate to the realm of captain. Yu Jinding has been fighting all year round, and in the military camp in the southern district, he has been sitting in the position of seconding command. There is no reason for such a low level. Chen Xingzi, that's right, why are you so low? Yu Jinding blushed, nonsense. Can the fittest be called low? Apparently he turned into Yu Yuji, my situation is different from others. I am a maverick. The genius. I have my own way of cultivation. Yu Jinding explained. Chen Xingzi and Chen Xingyi responded with polite but skeptical smiles. Jade golden tripod. Chen Xingzi broke the silence, Uncle Yu. Yu Jinding gritted his teeth, my name is Brother Yu. Chen Xingzi, Brother Yu. You said, why don't we popularize the relevant knowledge of the fittest, just like 280 years ago, all people are soldiers, and all people are fit. That is the prosperous age of the fittest and firearms. Yu Jinding interrupted his fantasies, if you have a child in the future, will you let him go to the battlefield at a young age? Chen Xingzi. Yu Jinding drove the car smoothly and looked into the distance. Young guys in their 20s, about 10 people formed a team. They were thrown into the wild, there was no human beings, there was no life, only the ubiquitous crisis and monsters. I don't know if the next moment, there will be a brother who sleeps with you on the bunk and dies in front of you. You were bitten to pieces by the monsters. You can't even get your arm back. Your superior is holding you tightly. Run with you. Leaving all your luggage and food behind, you are humiliated like a deserter who throws away his armor. The brothers were silent. Squeak with a sharp breaking sound, Yu Jinding stopped in front of the red light. Xiao Xi, if it were Xiao Yat, he, cough. Yu Jinding gave an example, as if he didn't feel right, he stopped halfway through. Chen Xingzi's fist made a creaking sound, which was harsh and sour. Yu Jinding continued, the world is so cruel. Although human beings have gained a firm foothold in the city now, some people may never see a drop of the blood of demon beasts in their entire lives. The green light turned on, and the vehicle started skillfully, but this is not the case. On behalf of everyone can enjoy this comfortable peace. After all, someone has to give their lives for this. Yu Jinding looked at the brothers Chen Xingzi and Chen Xingyi from the rear-view mirror. If one day, everyone can make the world peaceful without everyone dying, you will be so eager to hope that your relatives will climb on the tip of the knife. Rolling. Maybe one day your real brother will turn into a broken bone in front of your eyes. Or an old couple who could have enjoyed their family in peace, get up early in the morning and receive their child. Don't let you come into contact with these prematurely. It's actually a kind of protection. Chen Xingzi raised his head abruptly, it's always someone who has to work hard, isn't it? You watched our brothers grow up, and so did other people's children. If everyone shrank back, the barrier would have been broken by monsters long ago. Yu Jinding smiled lightly, "Stinky boy. Don't choke me. I, a soldier with his head on his belt, don't understand these truths. But someone has to go forward and build the Great Wall of Formation with flesh and blood. I know this truth, but I can't bear to let my children die, and I know that someone has to fight. This kind of entanglement is the most painful." "What? Do you two know why you wake up at the age of 15, but you won't be able to unlock the seal until you are 18? Xiao Ye thought for a while, "In order to, let us understand, this responsibility." Yu Jinding looked at Chen Xingzi, and Chen Xingzi said, "To, let us know who to fight for." Yu Jinding smiled with satisfaction, "You two stinky brats have passed the test. This kind of enlightenment is still my good man in China. Firearms are not for the purpose of fighting fiercely, but for a responsibility. Fighting for relatives, fighting for homeland, fighting for motherland. Fighting for mankind. Therefore, in 3 years of high school, let us focus on studying ideology and morality. What a big hidden danger a firearm would be in the hands of bad guys. Humans are already living under the shadow of demon beasts, if there is still turmoil in Liancheng. People should have faith. Dedicated to peace. Rather than just for yourself. Yu Jinding, until the age of 18, you will not be considered an adult for a day. You are all children. The purpose of not letting you people know more is to let some people be eliminated from the group of the fittest." The brothers were shocked. Yu Jinding continued, "Warcraft can be killed not only by crowd tactics. Instead of letting the fittest of the lower level besiege the high-level monsters, they will lose their lives in vain. www.mtlnovel.com. It is better to just start, let them come out of this enthusiasm, slowly dilute their enthusiasm, and stay in the city honestly. 10,000 low-level fittists may not be as good as a peak powerhouse. It's such a simple truth, I don't need to say more. It's better to save some resources and leave it to those with higher qualifications. It may sound a little strange. It's fair, but strength is also a responsibility. If you don't want to take on the responsibility of defending the motherland, you should give up this idea as early as you are young. Hugging in the city and making some economic contributions to the country is not a waste of life." Suffered. Yu Jinding drove the car and passed 2 or 3 traffic light intersections. Xiao Ye recovered from these words and looked at his brother. Chen Xingzi's eyes were full of unwillingness and persistence. Xiao Ye held his brother's clenched hand, and said in his heart, "Where is my brother, where is I?" Chen Xingzi raised his head and said slowly, "It's still unfair." Yu Jinding, "Oh." There was some doubt on his face. "I've made it so clear, what else does Zioxi think?" Chen Xingzi, "It's just that people who shouldn't go all out are restricted from getting information. What about people like me who insist on fighting for the country? We also have to be blocked from news. Like everyone else, we have nothing to do with that world. Do you know? If I can get in touch with a part earlier, maybe I will go faster and farther on the road of cultivation." Yu Jinding's voice was a little quieter, and some were brought into his rhythm by Chen Xingzi, "This. It's not too late to contact you until you are 18 years old. This is also the hope that you can be more carefree when you are underage. Think about it, adults always love their children, it's a kind of protection." Chen Xingzi sneered, "It's protection. It's also a cage. Adults are always self-righteous. Although they are well-intentioned, most of them don't care about their children's feelings." This is what Chen Xingzi is thinking now. "I am very grateful that my parents gave me life, gave me a home, and gave me a safe environment to grow up. However, sometimes, due to the generation gap or other reasons, parents and children always disagree. Arguments, quarrels, cold wars. It has been like this since ancient times, and it cannot be changed by one person at a time. People are like birds, imprisoned in cages. People locked the canary in a cage to protect it from raptors and predators. At the same time, it is also captivity. The canary, who yearns for the sky, can only look at the outside world from the cage. That world is vast and vast, divided by cage bars in his own field of vision. Of the 100 canaries locked in the cage, 99 may have received the safest care, and the remaining one, perhaps in the sky outside the cage, can emerge into nirvana and become a daypen. Who can tell? Squeak! There was a sharper breaking sound than before, and Yu Jinding suddenly stopped in front of the gate of the military camp. He felt as if he had been persuaded. Thinking back to the summer when I planned to join the army, my parents also discouraged me in every possible way. I miss them a little. The gate of the barracks was tightly closed, and the guards on guard were having a serious conversation with an officer in military uniform. They were serious and solemn. They should not be chatting. The guard lowered his head with respect and grievances on his face. The officers were arrogant and aggressive. Hearing the sound of the brakes, the two who were talking did not realize that there was a car parked at the door. When the soldier saw that the person sitting in the driver's seat was Chen Zhenshao's guard, he saw that he was going to pick up the two children from school. Before the recruit's standing guard could react, the officer hurriedly picked up the remote control of the gate and ran out quickly. Yang Gui, who is also in his 30s, wears a gold and bronze double star badge on his chest. Captain of the same level as the old principal. At this time, facing Yu Jinding, a sergeant whose cultivation is one level lower than him, his face is full of flattering smiles. Yang Gui pressed the remote control, and the gates of the barracks automatically opened to both sides. "Oh, I'm sorry, brother Yu, didn't I come to check the post just now? Let them guard it well. It's spring again recently, it's not peaceful." Compared with before, Yu Jinding seemed to be a different person. With a gloomy face, "The soldiers in the southern district are also under your control? Cha Gang? You are also worthy." Chen Xingzi in the back seat only felt a aura rushing towards him. The person sitting in the front row was clearly the familiar person from before, but this aura was not the same as in his impression. In the hearts of the two brothers, Yu Jinding has always been a veteran with low-level cultivation without a formality. I don't know if he was promoted to a guard by his father because of a gift. Now, it has subverted the previous perception. In the face of Yu Jinding's accountability, Yang Gui did not dare to speak out. "I dare not dare, I just accompanied Liang Shishao to see the latest battle situation in the southern district, and by the way, teach the recruits to stand guard seriously." Yu Jinding's eyes are dazzling. "Don't use the city guard to press me." "What about the city guard, huddled in the back? It's not the Donghai Navy and our Shikao barracks on the front line. What is the Beiming barracks doing? Fishing?" Chen Xingzi thought to himself, but Chen Xingyi reminded, "Brother Yu, be careful." From Xiao Yi's point of view, the city guard must have a higher official position than his father's district guard. Even if he is at the same level, he can't be so scornful. There should be etiquette. Chen Xingzi continued to lower his head and fiddled with his fingers, thinking and speculating in his heart. It seems that the relationship between the Beiming City Barracks and the Southern District Barracks is not bad on the surface, but in fact, there are some rifts and rifts. Listening to the meaning in this sentence, it should be the city guarding the military camp, too comfortable? Even to say, do nothing. Moreover, his terrifying father's strength level, perhaps higher than that of Beiming City's governor. There should be a story behind this. As for Brother Yu, I was naive before, he is definitely not as simple as he seems. Yang Gui was accused by Yu Jinding. He couldn't help but straighten his back. "Yu Jinding, you still need respect. You can say something about me, but you can't insult Liang Zhenshao like this." Yu Jinding slammed open the car door and rushed out, standing in front of Yang Gui, facing each other for tat. The noses of the two were about to collide, their eyes widened with anger, as if the tigers and leopards were competing with each other before the battle. The Chen Xingzi brothers were sitting in the car, and they couldn't move because of the momentum they released. Chen Xingzi, damn it, is it so difficult to move your fingers? Chen Xingyi, brother you, he is definitely not a sergeant. This aura. Yu Jinding dissipated his aura at will from Yang Gui's fighting spirit, which should have been like a swaying boat in the turbulent waves, but he was locked in Yang Gui's breath, but it was as comfortable as soaking in a hot spring. Province, don't worry, I'm not fooled. I beat you here, and Chen Junsi will definitely take care of me. After speaking, Yu Jinding gave Yang Gui a disdainful look. Chen Junsi, it is Chen Jiangzai. Yu Jinding took the word military division so seriously, it seemed that these two words should have some special meaning. Is it the name of the class? Commander. Commander of an army. It seems most likely so. Chen Xingyi said in a low voice, brother you, he deliberately bites the commander of the military. It seems that the level of the guards in Beiming City is not as good as that of our father? Not even the commander of the military. Although the voice was small, how could it be concealed from the ears of the fittest at the captain level? Yang Gui glared at Chen Xingyi fiercely. The daring Chen Xingzi stared back. Yu Jinding regained the sloppy look that the brothers had remembered, and stretched out the little finger of his right hand to pick at his ear, and said indifferently, Chen Junsi's son, stare more, it's all right, if you're too angry it's okay to beat them both. If you can get out alive after the fight today, I'll give you your surname. Hearing this, Yang Gui retracted his gaze and recoiled. Chen Jiangzai's name is really scary. Chen Xingzi said, Beiming City is an important super first-tier city and port in the country. There is absolutely no reason to assign a low-level strong person to be the city army commander. The so-called Liang Zhenshao should not be lower than the average level of the city's military leaders. Even so, as a district-level officer, his father's rank is still higher than this. What level should that be? With such a cultivation base, why is it in a district of a small city? If it is higher than the city guard, it means, maybe he can be the commander of a provincial military region. In ancient times, this was the official of the frontier, the governor of a province. Yang Gui withdrew his breath and said with a stern expression, Yu Jinding, you'd better show some respect to Liang Zhenshao Fang. He returned to the Yu Jinding in the car, twisted the key lightly, started the car, and said coldly, shut up. If you dare to say another word, I will not only beat you, but also the guards. Chen Xingzi and Chen Xingyi. The two brothers looked at each other, their eyes full of shock. Brother Yu, a sergeant, even threatened to fight the city guard. This shows that his combat power is completely overpowering. The commander of the army in a city has definitely touched the circle of the upper-class powerhouses. Brother Yu, how swelled. The car started and drove into the barracks from Yang Gui's side. Yu Jinding, who was driving the car, hummed today is a good day, and his absent-minded appearance was definitely not the same person with the monstrous fighting spirit just now. In the hearts of the brothers, the jade golden cauldron is becoming more and more mysterious. The car parked smoothly in the parking lot. Yu Jinding hummed a song, got out of the car, opened the rear door, and looked at the brothers who were a little stunned. Come on my little ancestor, get out of the car, I still have something to do. Seeing that the brothers were still stunned, Yu Jinding complained, why, do you want me to drive all the way to your room? Would you like to send it to the bed for you too? Yu Jinding leaned against the car, and looked like a rich second-generation playboy. Chen Xingzi, who had recovered, pulled his younger brother and got out of the car together. The parking lot is higher than the beach by the sea. Looking slightly on tiptoe, the beach was covered with red blood, unidentified green mucus, and the stumps of various monsters. Some soldiers, holding different types of firearms in their hands, flashing blue or yellow light on the firearms. This shiny gem is called Elemental Stone by Chen Xingzi. As the name suggests, it can add elemental attributes to the firearm. As long as you unlock the firearm, you can install the elemental stone. That is to say, you can completely prepare an elemental stone and install it backhand after unlocking the firearm at the common Goffage ceremony. However, very few people do that. At the beginning, everyone did not know how to cultivate in the future. If you choose the wrong element attribute, it will have an impact on your future style. You have to wait until you determine your own route before choosing the element stone that suits you. The earth attribute fittest in yellow light flips the sand on the beach, and the water attribute fittest in blue light drives tides and waves to wash the beach. Visible changes to the naked eye, the beach is getting cleaner and cleaner, and the traces of that battle are gradually being eliminated. Yu Jinding glanced at the beach, turned around and said, "What? Didn't you cry out to protect the enchantment? You were scared." "Chen Xingzi, today, the beasts attacked the city again." Looking at the sea, sky and sunset in the distance, Yu Jinding said, "Yes, it's almost spring. All things are recovering, and all the animals in the sea have climbed out to breathe. This Friday, the 6th day, right, the day of the scorpion, too I have to be busy again." There was no anxiety on Yu Jinding's face. Chen Xingyi wore a sad face, and his iconic smile disappeared. "Brother Yu, the military camp in the southern district. How many casualties are among the soldiers?" Yu Jinding put his arms around the brother's shoulders and patted them vigorously. "What are you two thinking? Your fathers are amazing." "Of course, brother Yu, I am also very good. Although casualties cannot be avoided every year, the number of casualties is still very high. Much lower than military camps in other regions." "Really? Father's strength is higher than that of a normal district-level army officer, but for some reason, he only stays in this small place." Snort. "Why are you shooting so hard?" "Public revenge." Chen Xingzi said, "It hurts. I want to sue." Yu Jinding rubbed Chen Xingzi's short hair. "Hey, your inch hair is a bit tangled. When you go to college, let your hair grow longer. The hairstyle required by high school is too ugly, not only ugly, but also tangled." But his hand kept going, but he still had to move forward. The other hand climbed on Chen Xingyi's head and bowed left and right. "You two Acridine, don't think about anything, don't worry, read hard first. Chen Junzi and I, it's just a 70 level and a 80 level tuba, with these brothers to brush with more than 30 level mobs, you have a good class, you don't have to think about anything. Do you hear me?" Chen Xingzi heard the metaphor of Yu Jinding and shouted, "Okay, brother Yu. Your example is really accurate, clear, and easy to understand. Are you secretly playing games at ordinary times? I caught it. Ha 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 ha, you have the handle in my hands. Xiao Ye can testify." Yu Jinding frowned slightly. "Xiao Ye is still good. Chen Xingzi, this little bastard, is too human. I let you two read with peace of mind, and you still catch my loopholes." Xiao Ye stabbed his brother and gave him a mean look. "Jade golden tripod? What was that look just now? No. Xiao Ye, don't be spoiled by Xioxi. You weren't like this before, that look. There is a conspiracy." Sure enough, Chen Xingzi smiled wickedly. "Brother Yu. Hey, teacher Yu. Tell us, SIU. Yu Jinding raised his brows. "Hey? Where did you two hear about it? Tell me now." He put his hand on his chin unnaturally, began to doubt himself, and whispered, "No, I shouldn't have said that. I'm not a big mouth. Okay. I really am not. I am a man who acts without leaking, and keeps his mouth shut." Chen Xingzi held brother Yu's cuff and gently shook it from side to side. "Tell me, brother Yu." Yu Jinding, who had goosebumps all over, said, "I just said it for nothing? You two should study hard first. It won't be at that time, and I will tell you when the time comes." "Chen Xingzi, it wasn't before and it wasn't time, you were told a lot by the two of us routinely." Yu Jinding stared. Chen Xingzi immediately changed his words, he, it was brother Yu who was kind enough to secretly make up lessons for the two of us. His eyes are like a torch. Brother Yu must know that after making up lessons for the two of us, we can go further on the road of the fittest in the future. Xiao Ye received the look his brother secretly gave him, and immediately assisted. I didn't care at first, but my brother couldn't be idle and kept pulling me to study. Now, I'm also curious about the whole thing. Brother you teach me well. We can't make it right for us to be a sergeant at 18, a captain at 20, and a province guard at 30. The half-eldest who haven't been trained, who doesn't have the dream of firearms, looking forward to leaving the boring reading and the dull life in the city, fading away the brilliance, and stepping into that strange and wonderful world. World of the fittest and Warcraft. Yu Jinding touched his head. Wonderful is wonderful, but maybe if you live it, one day your life will be gone. You little farts in the greenhouse. You know shit, you know. I don't like to talk to you too. The coast under the sunset is extremely beautiful, the blue water is as clear as a gem, the thin ripples are gently surging, the sunset shines, the red color is gilded, and the rustling tide beats one tide after another. The beach is soft and pure, as if it had never experienced war. When several soldiers saw that the beach had been cleaned up, they put their firearms into the mental space, lined up in a column, and walked back to where they should go. Sunset, sea breeze, sound of waves. Accompanied by the neat slogan of 121, 121, time flows slowly, and the slogan and the sound of the waves are integrated. Yu Jinding patted the brothers, and then turned towards the villa by the sea. The villa area is next to the beach by the sea, and it is several meters above the beach. Along the middle of the beach and the path in front of the villa area, a row of railings is built. A woman in her 30s, wearing a long white dress, was leaning against a railing, looking at the sea and the sunset, as if she felt something, turned around and saw the Chen Xingzi brothers, smiling, raising her arms to her chest and shoulders, he waved lightly. Yu Jinding, you two little bastards, I still have something to report to the guard. Your father is going to beat me again. You two should go home for dinner. At 7:30 in the evening, we will be training at the beach. Make an appointment, and I will practice the two of you. If you have any questions, I will talk about it later. As soon as he finished speaking, Yu Jinding didn't give the brothers any chance to interrupt, and turned around and ran away. The two legs became phantoms, and the dust was raised behind them. Xiao Ye sighed, the fittest are powerful, they can run so fast. Chen Xingzi took his younger brother and ran to the fence of the seaside villa, shouting at the woman in the white dress, "Mom! It's still freezing cold. What skirt are you wearing?" Chen Xingyi was also displeased. Wang Jing took a step forward and took a few steps in the direction where the brothers ran. With elegant steps and graceful posture, when the two brothers approached, they stretched out their smooth bare arms to wrap their arms around them. Chen Xingzi struggled for a while, and his tone was a little unhappy. "Mom, how old are we both, and you treat us as children, so everyone will hug them?" Pouting, Chen Xingzi seemed to have suffered a lot of grievances. Chen Xingyi smiled and enjoyed this quiet time, this happy years. Chen Xingzi doesn't like to show his true emotions with people who are not very friendly. When he is outside, he is always stern, but only occasionally laughs happily when he is with Xiao Ye. In the eyes of the classmates, he is a good person, but a little bit aloof. Perhaps others would never have imagined that Chen Xingzi would have such a face in front of his brother and mother. Wang Jing stretched out her finger and lightly tapped Chen Xingzi's forehead. "No matter how old you are my son too, why don't you give me a hug?" Chen Xingzi shrank his neck. "Hey, then I have to save face, I don't care if I hug at home, I'm so shy to be seen outside." Chen Xingyi looked at his mother's long skirt and took off his school uniform jacket. Chen Xingzi hurriedly took off his jacket upon seeing this. In the blink of an eye, the brothers' two coats had already covered Wang Jing's body. Yu reading www.yuyuganshu.com. Chen Xingyi, Mom, the wind is still very cold at night, so you need to wear more clothes. Chen Xingzi, that's right, Mom, when you come out to see the sea in the future, you have to bring a coat. If the wind blows, put it on. If you catch a cold, Xiao Ye and I won't agree. Wang Jing couldn't beat the two eldest sons and couldn't push them away, so she had to let the two sons put the coat on herself. The corners of his mouth rose, and the corners of his eyes were full of happy smiles. You two silly children, Mom is the fittest of the 6th rank, how can this wind catch a cold? Saying that, Wang Jing pointed to the badge on her chest. White as the bottom, red cross. Not the same as the usual badge of the fittest. While the mother and son were chatting and laughing, they had already walked back to their villa. Chen Xingzi stepped forward and pushed open the unlocked yard door. The three of them stepped into the large front yard together. There were rows of flower pots on the left and right sides of the yard, which seemed to be well taken care of. Wang Jing, you two, wash your hands quickly. The rice is ready. I'm afraid of the cold, so I put all the food in the storage box. I'll take it out in a while and make sure it's as fragrant as the one just out of the pot. Chen Xingzi, I guess my mother made my favorite shredded potatoes tonight. And my favorite stir-fried pork with green peppers. There should also be scrambled eggs with tomatoes that Xiao Ye loves. And Chen Xingzi in front of his family is so cheerful. Chen Xingyi smiled and said, Brother, there is no dish that you don't like to eat, no matter what it is, you like to eat it, and you are not picky at all. Wang Jing also smiled, I have it, I can do whatever I want. Plain, happy, there is no separation of life and death. This is what those bloodbaths want to protect. In the distance from the barracks, there are thousands of such happy and warm little homes. The mother and son were sitting at the dining table, and on the table were 4 plates of delicious food. Fried shredded potatoes, fried meat with green peppers, scrambled eggs with tomatoes, and spicy cucumber strips. There is also a steaming pot of seaweed egg drop soup. Home cooking condenses all the love a woman has for her family. Chen Xingzi, Mom, isn't Dad coming back for dinner tonight? Chen Xingyi looked at the dishes on the table, and then looked at his mother. Wang Jing raised her eyebrows, her voice brightened, and she was about to reach out and pat the table. Humph! He said it well during the day, he said he was going to come back for dinner, but he said that he had something to do temporarily, and his voice eased, I'm busy. Just wait until the day of Jingj this Friday is over, every year's Jingj is the time when the beasts recover. Furthermore, there have been a lot of things happening in Shikao in the southern district recently. I heard that there was a first-grade Qingfeng Peak suspect on the way to the coastal prison in Taidong province. The boat encountered a sea beast and was escaped by the suspect. Tracking down. In addition, it seems that the richest consortium has recently opened up the market in Beiming City. Even though your father is only a district guard, in fact, sometimes the district also participates in meetings and work in other fields. Chen Xingyi timidly said, Mom, the day of the stinging, will be all right. The beasts will recover. The beasts are revived. This is the first time the brothers have heard such a statement. Wang Jing waved her hands with a look of indifference, oh, it's all right. It's like this every year. After all, it's spring, and those monsters with hibernation habits will wake up before and after the sting, and the awakening of these monsters will also produce a chain reaction that drives other beasts that have not hibernated to become restless together. This is like when you were sitting quietly in the classroom doing your homework, and suddenly 2 or 3 people rushed out of the classroom, which would drive more people out, and then, maybe the whole class would go out to watch the fun. Even if nothing important actually happened. The beasts are restless, and they will run in all directions. Some go deep into the sea, and some go to the land. We need to face a lot more beasts than usual. This is the day of the sting. Chen Xingzi and Chen Xingyi were still full of worry. Wang Jing said, Don't worry, Brother Chen has been guarding Shikao for more than 10 years. Every year on the day of insect scare, everyone is repelled together. This time there will be no accident. Saying that, Wang Jing pretended to be angry and Akimbo said, "Don't think about it, eat quickly. Every human city is safe and will not be breached. If there are too many monsters, it exceeds the limit that our military camp can resist, then the fittest soldiers from other cities and camps will come to reinforce. If you two don't eat, don't eat." Before he finished speaking, Chen Xingzi picked up his chopsticks with his backhand. In just 1 second, he had eaten a mouthful of shredded potatoes, a mouthful of eggs, tomatoes, and 2 mouthfuls of rice. He said, "Oh, it's really fragrant." Wang Jing stretched her brows and smiled, "Good boy, oh, eat slowly." As she spoke, she looked at Chen Xingyi. Xiao Ye sighed inwardly at his brother's speed, picked up his chopsticks, and ate the delicious food in small bites. After taking 2 bites, he put down his chopsticks, and gave his mother and brother a bowl of seaweed soup, and then continued to eat. Because it was too delicious, Chen Xingyi, who had eaten in small bites, also began to take big bites of rice. The brothers seemed to be getting better. Seeing all this in Wang Jing's eyes, not to mention how happy she was, she immediately thought of this small family, and there was one person who couldn't have this warm dinner together. "Humph, let me doves for dinner. If I promise not to come back for supper, just wait for me to find you and deliver food to you." Chen Jiangzai, who was in the office of the military barracks in the distance, was eating 2 steamed buns that he brought back from the cafeteria. He shuddered suddenly, adjusted his collar, and continued to bite the white steamed buns that had become cold and stiff, correcting the official documents. Night, 7:20. After having dinner and resting for a while, Chen Xingzi and Chen Xingyi came to the open-air training ground by the sea. The training ground is built by the sea and is approximately rectangular. The 2 brothers stood side by side, watching this sea, which was so familiar, with blue waves surging under the night sky. The originally blue sea was also dyed a dark tone by the god of night in the endless night. Even if the street lights in the training ground were brighter, it would not be able to illuminate the night sea as blue as it was during the day. Just like this world, it cannot be saved by one person. The incandescent light illuminated the entire training ground, passing through the brothers' bodies, drawing 2 black shadows on the sand. "Chen Xingzi, Xiao Ye, brother, you is too slow. Let's exercise first." Chen Xingyi looked at his watch and said, "Well, that's fine. There are 10 minutes before the appointment. We can exercise first, or we'll just wait in vain. Prepare to begin." Chen Xingzi suddenly roared softly, the 4-character voice seemed to be released in only 1 syllable in his mouth. Before Chen Xingyi could react, Chen Xingzi had already run 5 meters away, with a man behind him. "Stalk of soot! Brother! You didn't wait for me!" Chen Xingyi chased behind his brother and sprinted. The 2 brothers condensed 2 wind dragons on the training ground and ran away with dust. "Xiao Ye, you're faster than anyone today. The loser will wash the other's socks," Chen Xingzi said with wind in his mouth. "Chen Xingyi, humph!" Several soldiers in the training ground saw the brothers and said to each other, "Hey, the 2 young masters are here to exercise again. Well, really hard-working." Suddenly, Chen Xingzi's eyes turned into brown gold pupils, and the dazzling golden light was restless in front of his eyes, which seemed to shine exceptionally in the dark night. Opening his eagle eyes, Chen Xingzi looked at his younger brother as he ran. "Little Ye, there is a muscle on the back of your right leg that has not been exercised." When Chen Xingyi heard this, he lowered his center of gravity a little, and pushed his calf on the ground with a lower posture, because only in this way can he get a better exercise effect. "Brother, you haven't exercised your Dazui point either." After Chen Xingyi adjusted his posture, he also opened his eagle eyes. The golden light is like a dancing long whip, pulsating with the pupil as the center, with a length of about an inch. Chen Xingzi was a little confused. "Dazui? This is the neck." After speaking, Chen Xingzi began to shake his neck and shook his head. Chen Xingzi delayed his pace because he shook his head, and was overtaken by Xiao Ye in the blink of an eye. Chen Xingzi, little yet. You lied to me. Hey hey hey. Chen Xingyi smiled shyly, I didn't, I really didn't exercise on the back of my brother's neck and back just now. The two brothers ran, swaying their youthful vigor. The two pairs of eagle eyes observed each other's muscle changes and reminded each other to pay attention. On the high platform in the distance, the jade golden cauldron merged with the dark night. Good guy, I heard people say that the two brothers often run and train on the training ground. I didn't expect this training method. Observe the muscles with eagle eyes, and do everything possible to exercise every muscle. It's a good idea. Yu Jinding was delayed for some time just now because of the delivery of documents, but she was not late. These two little guys. Yu Jinding's eyes flashed with yearning and memories, as if thinking of himself when he was young. Let the two of you exercise for a while. I really didn't pay attention to you two before, but I want to look how long you two can run today. Yu Jinding crossed his arms on the high platform and looked at the brothers with interest. Chen Xingzi and Chen Xingyi chased after me and ran out of fire on the training ground. Xiao Ye. Today we are not faster than each other. Who? Chen Xingzi gasped, his handsome features looked a little grim due to fatigue. Let's compare today and see who gets tired and gets down first. Chen Xingyi was also breathing air with a big mouth. It is reasonable to say that this is not the correct way of breathing, but in the case of rapid physical exhaustion, not opening his mouth is not enough to obtain the required oxygen. Okay. Brother, no one is allowed to be intimidated. Chen Xingyi said silently in his heart, I can't let my brother disappoint, I will use all my strength to compete with my brother. When their physical strength was almost exhausted, the two brothers sped up violently, which caught the attention of the soldiers nearby, and immediately hurried to avoid them, for fear that they would block the running route of the two young masters. Yu Jinding was a little surprised, his arms clasping his chest dropped. Hey, these two boys are about to reach the limit of their body. Will they break through the limit? Yu Jinding squatted down slowly, his posture indulgent and casual. The jade golden cauldron on the battlefield and in the army formation, and him in life, are definitely two faces. Break through the limit. These two little lunatics. Even in the half year of military recruit training, only half of them can complete the first limit breakthrough. If these two boys are 17. Yu Jinding suddenly standing up, while running towards the barracks, he muttered, no, if the limit is really broken in a while, medical personnel must be present to deal with it. Halfway through the run, Yu Jinding turned around and changed direction, and ran towards the villa area. I'm such a fool, what kind of military doctor should I look for? Go to Sister Jing, and she will be relieved if she treats her own child by herself. After speaking, Yu Jinding slipped away. Xiao ran and rushed into the Chen family's villa. On the training ground. Chen Xingzi, who? Xiao Ye. I feel, my body is not mine anymore. Chen Xingyi, hey. I too, feel, my legs hurt. An arm was placed on Chen Xingyi's shoulder. Although he was not very strong, he still tried his best to support him who was about to fall. Chen Xingyi turned his head to look, and saw that his brother almost stumbled in order to support him. He also stretched out his arm and climbed onto his shoulder. The two brothers supported, huddled, shoulders. Slower and slower, more difficult. Body toppled. Phew! There was a swift and violent wind, and the jade golden cauldron came on the wind, and at the moment when the two of them were about to fall to the ground, they supported the brothers, and then slowly laid Chen Xingzi and Chen Xingyi flat on the ground. What's going on here? How can you be so tired? Wang Jing's tone was full of anxiety. Just now, Wang Jing was lying beautifully on the sofa in the living room watching TV, when she was startled by Yu Jinding's shout. Chen Xingzi lay on the ground. Mom, why are you here, and you don't wear a coat, how cold? Wang Jing hated her teeth, stretched out her legs, and kicked Chen Xingzi's arm and foot. Ah! It hurts! Chen Xingzi cried out in a funny way, but suddenly felt a warm current in his body. Hey? Is the medical department so powerful? Why do I feel so comfortable with a kick from me? Chen Xingzi propped himself on the ground and sat up. Quick, Mom, give Xiao Ye a kick too. Believe me, Xiao Ye, it's really comfortable. Chen Xingyi rolled his eyes at his brother. Seeing that no one cared about him, Chen Xingzi stretched out his hands to hold his brother's shoulders and shook it gently. Xiao Ye, why don't you trust me? As Chen Xingzi swayed, inexplicable energy poured out of Chen Xingyi's body, repairing the strain on his body. Seeing that Chen Xingyi was about to believe in evil, Yu Jinding hurriedly said, "You two little fools! Do you two know how dangerous it is for you to break through the limits of your body? In addition, after the breakthrough, the body will generate physical energy when it is slightly stimulated by the outside world. It's not just a casual kick. Sister Jing, give them a treatment. After all, it's really dangerous to break through the limits of your body. Get treatment so that you won't leave any dark wounds." Yu Jinding said to Wang Jing. Chen Xingzi and Chen Xingyi finally got up and stood obediently, waiting for their mother's treatment. Then, Wang Jing took out a gun. The black gun body slowly condenses and manifests in the soft white light. Mom, what are you doing? Why are you beating me and Xiao Ye? We both know we're wrong, woohoo! Chen Xingzi's begging skill and max. Shut up! Wang Jing glared her eyes and said. The shape of Wang Jing's gun is similar to that of a rifle, but the energy fluctuations on it are completely different from other firearms. Could it be the legendary tranquilizer gun? The abilities of the other 7 types of firearms are all manic and untamable. The energy of this firearm, which is suspected to be an anesthesia gun, is extremely docile, like a well-behaved cat or a little white rabbit. In the docile, there is also the infinite power of life. Above the gun body is an accessory similar to a red dot sight. Wang Jing stared at the red dot sight, the bayonet about the length of an adult's finger under the muzzle and the black muzzle pointed at the brothers. Chen Xingzi shivered. Mom, are you going to kill us both? Yu Jinding looked at Chen Xingzi www.mtlnovel.com and knew what he was thinking. What are you thinking? This is an X-ray medical examination mirror, and Sister Jing is checking the two of you. X-rays? So, just point at gunpoint to check on someone? So then, that accessory muzzle, it shouldn't be a bayonet, it's a scalpel, right? Shouldn't there still be an injection needle hole? The white light gradually condensed at the muzzle, forming a direct 2 or 3 centimeters ball of light. Wang Jing pulled the trigger, and the white ball of light came out of the gun at a slow speed, hitting Chen Xingzi's forehead. I just felt that my whole body seemed to be bathing in the hot spring, and all the fatigue was swept away. The first system skill of the anesthesia gun, the light of healing. This effect is really extraordinary. Afterwards, Wang Jing followed suit and gave Chen Xingyi some treatment. Chen Xingzi was still in the mood, and he took an inch. Mom, I feel that I am still a little uncomfortable. Would you like to use the skills of the second system and give me some treatment? Humph! Wang Jing rolled her eyes at Chen Xingzi, turned around and walked away with her long legs, and left without looking back. Ouch! Yu Jinding slapped Chen Xingzi on the back of the head vigorously. Yu Jinding, the second system skill is paralyzing poison. Do you want to be stunned directly here? Chen Xingzi. Okay, not bad. Anyway, I originally just wanted to know the skills of the second system of the sedative gun, but now I know it. Paralyzing toxins. It sounds like, give the monster a shot during a fight to make him slow down? In addition, if it is urgent to perform surgery on teammates in the field to clean up the wound, it can also be used for anesthesia. The so-called anesthesia gun is not anesthesia. Can it still be called an anesthesia gun? It's night, exactly 8 o'clock. The sea breeze is still there. Yu Jinding stood alone on the beach, tapped the ground with his right foot, and gently kicked up the light yellow fine sand, which was supported by the sea breeze and floated far away. Under the street lamp, 2 long shadows approached slowly, and the 3 shadows stood side by side, facing the dark sea of night. Here? I thought you 2 weren't coming. Yu Jinding stood with his hands behind his back, and he had the loneliness of a master. Then, the cool wind blew and shivered, and the demeanor disappeared. Chen Xingyi, brother Yu, my mother pulled us to change our clothes. It turned out that the clothes were soaked with sweat. It's such a beautiful sea. Even in the dark night, it still reflects the color of the sky. Chen Xingzi learned from the jade golden tripod with his hands behind his back, and his eyes looked into the vast sea. God knows, how many people live in the ocean. Weird sea beasts surging and surging under the blue sea abyss, killing each other, dyeing the sea vortex blood red. If the terrain of Shikao is not directly inserted into the sea, but a bay like Beiming Port, in this case, as long as the sea outside is well guarded, the beach in the bay can be used as a vacation place. Chen Xingzi imagined, what a beautiful scenery, more peaceful than Beiming Port, as a battlefield, it's a pity. Yu Jinding, don't tell me about Beiming Port. I'll get angry when you talk about it. Chen Xingyi stretched out his hand to support brother Yu's shoulder. Don't be angry, brother Yu. The Liang Zhen Shao you mentioned in the afternoon. Although I don't know the specifics, but maybe people have difficulties. What's the trouble? When brother Chen retreated and attacked the military territory, monsters attacked the city, and dozens of our brothers died. What about the Beiming barracks? If their soldiers came or not, they would die, but the surnamed Liang, he didn't come. If he comes, we won't die so many brothers. What troubles? Is it possible that there is a high-level sea beast king lurking under the sea of Beiming Port, which is a prosperous site? Yu Jinding said more and more excited, and then condensed in his right hand a ray of purple electric light came out, and in the center of the electric light, a black pistol was clenched in his hand. Boom! What was that just now? Chen Xingzi and Chen Xingyi looked at each other. I didn't see it clearly at all. It seems to be a purple bullet? I can't see the ballistic trajectory at all, and the speed of exiting the chamber is also very terrifying. It's almost like pulling the trigger in sync with the bullet being fired. The purple bullet is by no means a conventional attack method, and the bullet also flashes with lightning. Could it be that when you cultivate to a high level, your attack method is so extraordinary? It's not the same as I imagined. After the level is high, even the bullets are extraordinary. It's like the difference between ordinary players and money players. Besides, this blow. Brother Yu is really no ordinary sergeant. The level does not match the combat power. The lightning bomb, the pistol that was retracted from the body before it could be seen clearly, and the seawater vacuum crater split by lightning in the distance. Yu Jinding fired a bullet and vented the dissatisfaction in his heart. A roar came from the far-away barracks building, Jade Golden Cauldron. Attacks are not allowed in the barracks. Are you responsible for attracting sea beasts? Give me an inspection tomorrow. Chen Jiangzai's voice. The 2 brothers thought to themselves, terrifying, at such a distance, the sound is condensed and not scattered, and it is not deafening. Obviously, the sound is condensed into a line and transmitted. Yu Jinding gave a military salute, okay, guard. Then he bowed his head aggrievedly. She lowered her head, like a shy girl. Brother Yu is always slapped in the face very quickly. Before he is handsome enough for 5 seconds, he will go to write an examination. On the other hand, there was also a sound coming from the villa area. Chen Jiangzai. Come home and eat for me. Chen Xingzi's neck shrank, his head slowly approached Xiao Yi's ear, and his hands were still tightly guarded, for fear that the voice would be too loud. Xiao Yi, mother, a bit fierce. Chen Xingyi nodded. Chen Jiangzai in the building did not answer Wang Jing. There wasn't even a response. I didn't hear the good wife I imagined. However, from the light curtain of the street lamp, a black shadow can be seen trotting towards the villa area. Yu Jinding faced the two brothers. It's getting late. I'll finish talking to you two quickly, and everyone can go back to their rooms to rest, okay? Zioxi, have you brought your notebook? Chen Xingzi shook his head. I didn't bring it out. Then his face was a little unhappy. No need to bring it. After so many years of inquiries, I didn't ask for much, just a few words, all in my mind. Chen Xingzi silently complained about Yu Jinding in his heart. Thanks to your big mouth, most of the things on this notebook are contributed by you. The two brothers seemed to be on the same page. Chen Xingyi, who was beside him, snickered a little, and then hurriedly held back. Yu Jinding, okay, then tell me first, how many system skills are recorded in the notebook, and which ones are unclear? Chen Xingzi grinned, as he said, actually, there are not many, only 11 or 12 skills. All 5 skills of the rifle know their names, and the other 6 firearms have memorized the first skill. The sedative gun knows the first skill. The first skill and the second skill, only the pistol is still. Yu Jinding, you don't need a pistol. There is no system skill for a pistol, so you don't need to remember it. Why doesn't the pistol have system skills? Chen Xingyi asked. Yu Jinding, compared with other guns, the pistol itself has no system skills, which is one of its shortcomings. Defect? Also one? In other words, are there any other disadvantages? If that's the case, why put the pistol alongside the other 7 firearms? Chen Xingzi secretly wrote down this inadvertently obtained information. The first skill of the submachine gun is called shield armor. As the name suggests, it should condense a light shield or light armor for defense, right? Chen Xingzi answered half a question. Yu Jinding nodded and agreed. The first skill of the sniper rifle, the cross-eye. I overheard the elder brothers in the military camp and they said that it seems that a cross pattern can be formed in the center of the line of sight to help the fittest aim. Yes. Target point, muzzle sight, scope, cross-eye. 4 o'clock in one line. Shotgun, iron arm. It can increase the strength of both arms. In this way, the huge recoil attached to the powerful attack power of the shotgun can be overcome. Anesthesia gun, healing light. I just saw this, and the effect is very powerful. That's because the two of you are too weak and Sister Jing is too strong. The high-level fitter heals the low-level fittest, so that's why it's so easy. If the treatment is between equals, the consumption is actually very terrifying. Of course, the effect is also it's all right. So, the importance of the fittest in a team is self-evident, and the fittest must be protected, and the enemy will most likely give priority to attacking the fittest. Hand cannon, explosive bomb. It should be that the shell will explode like a bomb after it is fired. Machine gun, smart. This, a little unclear. There is nothing wrong with the system skills of the handgun. As for the flexibility of the machine gun, it is also well understood. Simply put, it is to increase the flexibility of the muzzle. After releasing the agility, the body of the machine gun can be steered more flexibly. It's easier to hit people that way. The brothers benefited a lot, and Chen Xingzi was planning to go back and quickly take notes. Yu Jinding walked around the brothers with their hands behind their backs. So, now you want me to talk about rifles? Chen Xingzi nodded violently. Yu Jinding smiled. Okay, then tell me all the rifle skills you know. Chen Xingzi, Killing Intent, Spell Nails, Soulless Soul, Ghost Shadow, and SIU. Yu Jinding, yo, that's okay, do you know all the 5 skills? Chen Xingyi said, Brother Yu, I'm actually more curious, is the rifle the most moderate of all firearms? Yu Jinding pondered deeply, is it the mean? The mean. This word is quite appropriate. Indeed, the rifle is indeed the most balanced kind of gun. It does not have the characteristics of a system that is more outstanding, and it does not have its own characteristics. Even, he can turn into another kind of gun. Chen Xingzi and Chen Xingyi. Yu Jinding scratched his head and laughed, ha 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 ha, it's a bit exaggerated to say that, ha ha. But it's almost the same, you two probably don't know it yet, the drawings of the family heirloom accessories inherited by your family are an eightfold mirror, and they are still the leader in the eightfold mirror. Why? What a pity if the talent of Hawkeye is wasted. Therefore, the supervision of Hawkeye and the long-range vision of the eightfold mirror have created the special fighting style and prestige of the Chen family General A family of rifles used as sniper rifles. Sniping with a rifle? And it sounds like it's not just Dad, Grandpa, Great-Grandpa, maybe it's the same. Yu Jinding, let's not talk about this first, let's talk about rifles. Oh no, maybe, we can study the fundamentals of cultivation. How much do you know about it? Chen Xingzi, not much, just know, exercise your body and hone your mental will. Chen Xingyi, I also know that there are accessories, and yes, there are element stones. Yu Jinding stretched out his right hand and swayed one index finger left and right, no, this is wrong, accessories and elemental stones are not the foundation of cultivation, but only a kind of aid to foreign objects. It also includes beast souls, but this is far from you. It is still very far away, it will take a long time before you can absorb the beast soul, so there is no need to tell you so much now. In the final analysis, cultivation mainly consists of three elements: body, spirit, as well as the fit and proficiency of firearms. It can be said that these three are three-dimensional indicators to measure the combat power of the fittest, and also the evaluation criteria for upgrading. Seemingly inadvertently, Yu Jinding glanced at the badge of the fittest on his chest that did not match his own strength. Exercise your body to have a stronger body. Sharpen your will and have a stronger belief. Then, by using the firearm continuously, holding it, caring for it, using it, reloading it with adaptive bullets, in the long run, the firearm will evolve. Chen Xingzi asked, evolution, do you mean the change of the mark on the side of the gun? Yu Jinding, yes, the mark on the gun is the mark of the gun's grade. You don't need to understand the specifics now. It's better to be down to earth, no too early, I'm afraid you will be too ambitious. Imprint? I have usually seen the training of soldiers in the military camp, the marks on the side, and the bronze and white silver ones. Could it be that there are gold, platinum, masters, kings on it? The 9th grade of the fittest, is it possible that there are 9 grades of firearm marks? It's really red, orange, yellow, green, blue, purple, black, and white. All the colors are used. It shouldn't be the case. Yu Jinding waved in front of Chen Xingzi and told him to come back to his senses. Hey, Zioxi, come back to your senses. Don't think about it, the locks on firearms have not been unlocked yet, there is no need to know the hierarchy, I will tell you two next time. With a mysterious smile, Yu Jinding said, you two, don't you want to learn about the 5 major skills of a rifle? Chen Xingzi's eyes lit up. Chen Xingyi was also very excited. Yu Jinding looked left and right, it's hard to do, brother Chen won't let you do it here, come. Let's go to the battle room. Chen Xingzi pulled his younger brother and chased after the jade golden cauldron. Very good. I can finally see the combat system skills. Lionmouth Barracks, battle room. Yu Jinding washed his hands, took out 2 goggles that could cover the whole face, and handed them to the two of them, put them on, don't get too close for a while, for the two of you are now small and crispy. Too dangerous. Chen Xingzi pouted and put on the goggles, while Xiao Ye put it on early, his eyes fixed on the jade golden tripod. Seeing the two of them standing still, Yu Jinding drew a line with his toes, look here, don't move forward. After that, he walked towards the center of the field. This time is the time for evening classes and repairs. No one will come to this battle room. Remember, I will only demonstrate it once, and I will pull it down if I can't see it clearly. Yu Jinding said, with a firearm in his hand. Suddenly, the long black gun body condensed out, and on the side of the gun body, there was a silver mark. The shape is about the same as the M16A4 described in the book www.mtlnovel.com Before the Cataclysm, made by human technology. Everyone's firearms are unique to themselves. The so-called shape is similar to a certain gun, but it only looks alike. In fact, if you look closely, it is definitely different. And many more. Rifle? Where did brother Yu get the rifle? Didn't he use a pistol before? Purple bullet, isn't everything an illusion? Although he fired and retracted the gun very quickly, he couldn't even see what the pistol looked like, but it was definitely a pistol. What's up with this rifle now? Knowing what Chen Xingzi was thinking, Yu Jinding turned his head and said, "Stupid, in fact, the sergeant's realm can awaken auxiliary guns." Auxiliary gun? The second gun? Chen Xingzi was extremely surprised. Yu Jinding covered his ears. "I can hear you. Keep your voice down. How rude is it to shout and shout?" The two four-character idioms exhausted his vocabulary. Chen Xingzi smiled. "Yu Jinding, don't you want to see the skills? Then take a serious look. What is the so-called rifle? What is the so-called SIU? SIU? The head of the division, the rule of the royal. The so-called SIU is the power that controls everything. Why is a moderate rifle a position that no team dislikes? It's because a rifle can release an effect similar to a field. If it weren't for a very special genius, at the earliest one would need to be in the general realm to control the realm. Only if you have mastered your own domain. You have the right to be a guardian and guard a district. SIU, it's a skill that can step into the domain level with half a foot. Governs everything. The power of control.